Good evening once again, everybody, and welcome to Live from the Works and the final part of our biggest little railway in the world watch along. It is, of course, just under a week to go until that very magical time of year, which is, of course, that time of year when we're all in lockdown again. Happy Christmas, everybody. That's not water, that's vodka. I'm joking, it is water. Anyway, so welcome everybody. We are, of course, watching the final episode of the biggest little railway in the world this evening, which will hopefully take your mind off of the developing country situation, which we all heard about later. So we're not going to talk about it. We're not talking about it. I'm making that promise now. We're not discussing it. We might end up discussing it, but we're not discussing it. Anyway, I am joined once again by some fantastic guests, which will be my pleasure to introduce you to now. Our first guest is my good friend, who is leader of Team C and general all-round good guy, because he's given up 2 weekends in a row now to come and do this nonsense. It's my good friend Paul. Paul, how are you doing? Lovely to see you too, mate. And oh, hold on, what's happened here? Okay, that's different. The Zoom chat seems to have focused on the wrong part. Sorry, my software is to focus on the wrong part of the meeting. There we go, that's better. And my second guest, who is appearing on screen now, it is my good friend Alex, who is the editor of Model Railway Express magazine and owner of the business Online Models Limited. I think I've said that right, have I, Alex?
Well, I have temporarily stepped down as editor of Model Railway Express, but
okay, yes, fair enough.
You said everything else right. Yeah.
Fair enough. I apologise for getting my facts wrong. Then that's. This is what happens when you don't have a dedicated researcher for your content. Oh dear. Anyway, Paul, I think your volume may be a teeny bit quiet because you're not coming up when you're speaking, so I don't know if there's anything you can do there. Okay.
Don't know if I can adjust the input.
There we go. That's better. Yep, we can see you now. Yep. Excellent stuff. Right. So we'll get the housekeeping out of the way. Once again, folks, as always, I would like to make it very, very clear that we will not actually be streaming the programme The Biggest Little Railway in the World on the stream tonight. Because of course that would anger the YouTube copyright algorithm and would be illegal. But we're getting around that because you can watch it on All 4, which is Channel 4's streaming service. It is entirely free for people in the UK and the Republic of Ireland, and I've just posted the link to that in the chat room. And also I've just noticed that the YouTube chat is not coming up on the right hand side of the screen. We're doing very well so far. It's all going smashingly. And we haven't even started yet. Oh, goodness me. Okay. So, let's see here. Paul, you were with us last week, of course. So we kind of went over everything last week, I think, didn't we? Does anyone have any questions from Paul that came up via episode 4? And also, does anyone watching who was here last week have any questions for Alex about anything that happened over the last 4 episodes? I think it might be a good opportunity, Alex, since you're already here. I'm going to fire a question at you immediately. Obviously, we've done the first 4 episodes. What, for you, in those 4 episodes, sort of over the time period that was covered by them, what was sort of the standout moment watching the show back when it was aired the first time?
Oh, what was the standout moment when watching the show back? That's a terrible question, Matt.
I know. I'm putting you on the spot.
I think actually the standout moments were the complete absence of most of the standout moments. I know that there's some fantastic stuff coming that we will happily see tonight and we will talk about tonight. But so much of what Team D did, and so many antics and other matters which, perhaps should stay secret forever, just never made it to the footage. They're all on the cutting room floor.
Which is sad in a way, isn't it? I mean, you guys, I think we touched on this when in the first week we did this, watching episodes 1 and 2. You guys are conspicuously absent for most of the first few episodes.
I maintain we were too good at our job. we just laid track at warp speed, you know. I mean, we had 2 runners, of course, like most teams did, who were supporting us. One of them was a great organizer and was fantastic. Everything we needed sorted, no problem. Next day we had whatever that was, if she could manage it. But one of them just wanted to play with all the big toys. And he was basically just, every chance he got, he nicked the quad. So much for trying to lay track with the quad, because the quad would mysteriously be off on some adventure.
Yeah. And yet you finished all your sections before we did, which.
Yes, I'm sure we will have to discuss and enjoy tonight, because I know there's a fantastic moment where you guys actually get to come in and be the cavalry. You know, it's so rare.
For a change, yes.
I can't count the number of times. I keep trying to get... How many times did Team D come to the aid of Team B?
Yes, we touched on this very heavily in the first week. I think we... Paul, you might want to chime in on this as well. We said a lot during the first watch-along that the part of the reason I think we were sort of struggling so much was certainly that first day, anyway, by the... is it Lagan Locks? No, Neptune's Staircase. Sorry, Lagan Locks is later. With that first day laying track, you can see in the show we're very much sort of, right, we've got to go around this. Do we have to go in front of this box? We're trying to get the grips with the curves. The pre-formed thing for the curves wasn't working in our favour. You know, we can make every excuse under the sun, really, but you know,
we threw our preformed thing out on day
yes,
one.
Yes. I think we've discussed this to death.
That was by day 3, I think.
Yes. I think we ended up nicking Team A's. Someone told us at one point. I think it might have been Derry on the first week of the watch along. We ended up, I think, taking Team A's preformer at one point. But again, yeah, I think we just gave up using them and we went with the old mitre box and cutting the track method.
Yeah. We called them the threepney bits.
Yeah.
Well, then we gave up on the mitre box. We just had Rod standing there with a circular saw out of sight of the camera, chopping angles into them. Track length in one hand. Bzz, bzz, bzz.
It just worked out quicker in the end, didn't it? Because I think
it was so much quicker.
Yeah, this is the thing. By about day 2, we kind of cottoned on to the fact that the curves were taking way too long. So we did end up there was a number.
Just hadn't designed a way of connecting them.
No, and this was the thing, and I've said this before. It's pretty much. Whenever I was with the loco, pretty much every time we went from a straight bit to a curve or vice versa, the loco came off. It was just one of those things where, you know, getting the two to join, you know, both fantastic bits of engineering in their own right, putting the two together, not so much.
I'm sure I'd agree that the curved track was a fantastic piece of engineering. Never quite worked. I was struggling in that church hall when we were, you know, demonstrated how to do it, and then we tried putting it together, and nobody could seem to fit it together as it was supposed to go.
I will rephrase as diplomatically as I possibly can. It was a brilliant piece of engineering in principle. It was, you know, the idea was sound. You know, the way in which you can see from the way it's been designed and the way it's all meant to go together. You know, it's brilliant. You know, fantastic, perfect for the project we were doing. In practice, not so much.
I mean, some of the long, sinuous curves that were put together were fantastic. It was when you had to wiggle back and forth on paths, which not only curved horizontally, but also had vertical curves in at the same time. That was when it just... I remember there's at least one curve. I think this was at Eberschulder, and I always pronounce that wrong, and I've just realised that my phone's not on silent, so bad, Matthew. YouTube streaming 101. Anyway, on Eberschulder, going up onto the swing bridge there, there's something like a 270-degree curve up from the canal towpath onto the bridge itself, and you know, honestly, I was impressed that that actually made a coherent section. You know, there's many other examples that I'm sure were
were probably a bit more memorable than that. You know, the spiral formation being one of them, of course. But you know, actually fitting the curves together was a bit of a nightmare. I imagine if you were doing it in a workshop and, you know, it's nice air conditioned, nice flat surfaces and everything, you could probably get them together in seconds.
Yeah.
On the ground in the middle of Scotland, midges everywhere, hitting down with rain. Not so much.
Midges. No, not the midges. Actually, I didn't get suffered half as bad with the midges. I mean...
No, you were one of the lucky ones, I think.
Yeah. I used the provided midge net, which was a bit useless anyway for half the certain jobs you were trying to do. But at the end of the day, I found out only after I'd left Scotland that I used Dove for men deodorant, and apparently midges despise this deodorant.
I wish someone had told the rest of us that.
I'm like, oh, this is why I'm not being stung every 5 minutes.
This explains very much.
That's what the
There
tick
is some
problem.
kind of, was it Avon skin cream that was supposed to be repellent to...
There were about 3 million rumours flying
yeah.
around. The Scots just seemed to have fun trying to tell us new ways, didn't they, of avoiding the midges. None of them ever worked.
No.
Yes. Dance naked on the lock at midnight. That'll do the trick.
Sacrifice your weakest team member. Smear them in honey.
That with a minibus.
Didn't work. The buggers kept coming. The minibuses and the midges. Take your own punchline from that one. Right. Okay, it is just after 7 o'clock, so I think it's a good time for us to fire up the programme. Is everybody ready to go?
Yes, standing by.
Already?
Lovely. Okay, so everyone watching at home, if you are ready, we will go in 3, 2, 1. Oh, there's the 4th bridge again. We haven't seen that 4 times already.
It's almost like we have to watch it again.
I know.
Yes. We get to find out about the railway system that was the envy of the world.
Last week it was kind of pitched before we went on air that we should take a drink every time Dick Strawbridge says the word Victorian, but I think it was generally
drunk.
Yeah, it was generally agreed that we would be unconscious by about minute 10. So
At least this only has 5 episodes. If you ever watch the Michael Portillo Great Railway Journeys, then
yes, that's got a very repetitive intro as well, hasn't it?
But yes, for all 6,000 episodes.
Oh God! Honestly, there's almost an episode for every mile of track in Britain now, isn't there?
I think that is the aim, isn't it?
Slightly different shot of Silver Lady there. I don't think we've seen that one before.
I just love this. You know, I'm Dick Strawbridge, and in honour of our Victorian ancestors, I've got this dream. He had no such dream. The TV company just went, "You owe us a favour. Would you be the presenter?"
Here we are. That's us crawling up Inverness Mountain.
Oh.
Yeah, only just past halfway, so we're going to cram everything into the last 45 minutes. Yes. Weird editing decision,
and
that.
Doesn't the editing make it seem like, you know, we've not encountered rain yet?
It does feel a bit like that.
You know, day 1 was great. Day 2, it was a little bit okay. And then day 3 onwards, rain.
Constant rain.
There's Jenny, bless her, who doesn't get much time on this either as leader of Team D.
No, I know. Day 10. God. Joe, it's weird to think it was only...
These snaky S-bends. We actually had to lay a huge section up some really nasty, steep bits. And we found out as we were leaving the site that the van driver we'd had as a replacement for that day thought it was a great game to run over as much track as possible on the way.
Yeah, I think a few of us had.
When he found out, he had to spend all night with the security relaying it.
Oh God!
That was one of the most demoralising things I remember, was sitting on the minibus after we'd just had a really tough day laying track, and then we could hear the track crunching under the wheels of the minibus as we departed. Thinking, someone's going to have to redo so much of that.
And the infamous Helix.
Caledonian Helix, I believe they call it in the programme.
Or otherwise known as the Cameron Cage.
The Cameron Cage, yes, for reasons that will become obvious shortly. Oh, God, it's off again. I physically flinch every time I see the engine come off.
Testament to Roundhouse Engines, you know. I mean, I got to drive this on day 3 during, was it day 3 of our laying, during a test demo of how to drive.
Yes, I remember that evening.
For a few seconds, I did get to drive it, and I got the feel of it. I'm like, yeah, this is, okay. By the end, which we'll obviously come to, I could tell this engine was sort of, she had been worked hard.
Yeah.
She needed to go into a major works overhaul.
There was a very different feel from driving it, certainly the first day I did it.
Me.
It is you. The first day I drove it was very smooth still. It's been out a couple of days. It was sort of getting a bit rocky around the edges. By that last day, no, completely different feel.
What it needed was training wheels, like on a kid's bike.
Somebody did suggest, can't the engineers do that?
That's brilliant. I can't believe no one thought of that. Oh dear. Paul, I've just thought of a question that came up from episode 4. Did you guys ever make it to Nessie Land in the end?
We didn't, alas.
No.
No. I think,
None of us made it to Nessie
Land.
Land.
We finished early that day, but then we had to go help out a certain Team D.
Ooh.
That would be because you'd helped us out the day before, I think, or something like that. We'd been wound up all being on the same frequency.
The sun change diagram.
At what point was this? This was day 10, so...
Like a good diagram to display progress of Silver Lady.
I think that's day 10. That's like 4 days from the end, Paul. Is that... Yeah.
Oh, Maggie. Oh. Self-appointed deputy leader of the team. And here we go.
Oh, look at that. Who's that, then?
I don't think it's me, unfortunately.
I was going to say, you and I both get quite a bit of exposure in this episode, I think.
Yeah, this is why I said, leave me till the last episode. There's enough of me in here.
There's the counterbalance.
Yeah. I'm sorry. The counterbalance railway was in no way a straight climb.
I would agree with you. I'm going to agree with you. Yes, I saw that.
Total nonsense.
I love how they talk about this, but of course we all know, as members who survived it, the challenges were just like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this extra mystery box. We won't tell you about it until like later. And you, come on, give us some time to think it over, the night before maybe, then we can discuss it. Now,
they're talking about the Rack and Pinion Railway, the good example from this country is the Snowdon Mountain Railway. So there were actually, I'm going to ruin the magic for a lot of people now, there were 2 versions of Silver Lady. There was one that did the majority of the distance, but there was a backup version, which was the one you saw bringing the main loco up the counterbalance railway a few moments ago. The first model had like cog wheels in the place of, actually if I lift up my one, you'll be able to get a rough idea of what I'm talking about. You see under there, you've got the wheels on the bottom there. They're smooth. The main model had grooves cut into it, like a cog wheel, to give it better grip. I can't re-rail it now. Story of my life. Cut to help it grip the rubber coated rails, and it did that really successfully. It gave us a lot more sort of moving power. I mean, this moves quite well on our track, but it's better with the additional wheel.
As we can see, I mean, it's a good job that this is the Silver Lady that survived, as it were.
Yeah, this was the
good job.
Yeah,
because yes, underneath it is fitted a basically the drive cog from
Yes.
a DVD player.
Is that what it is?
Yes, that's very clever. And as I pointed out, and it doesn't make it to cut, and it makes us look like idiots. I said, yes, we've been given a cog. There's a small problem with this, in that this cog, we don't actually know what height the loco.
Oh gosh, yes.
So I was like, are we going to be having a loco here to test this with? Are we going to see it? And they're like, what? You've got a cog. You can see it works. No. And it's horrible. That we had no idea what height we're setting this at. We were just told this has been tested. It works.
Yeah.
It was pouring with rain as well, and we've been given super glue to set this, as you can see there.
Yeah, not ideal.
And super glue, in case you're wondering, if you add water, it sets instantly. So it is useless.
The joke is, I'm looking at these shots. You might be able to expand on this, Alex, but it looks to me, having not been to that location, that, and bearing in mind what I know about what that loco was capable of doing, it looks a bit to me like that challenge was slightly manufactured, because the loco was well capable of going up that hill by itself.
Yes, well, no, the loco would not have made it up there by itself, I can assure you.
Fair enough.
Just as steep at just a few points, admittedly, nowhere near as stable as your challenge was.
No.
But there were moments where we were definitely in excess of that. I mean, I was struggling to get up these
Fair enough, then. They don't illustrate that very well in the editing. It does look very gentle as a slope.
It's terrible the way they sort of made it look, you know.
It does look like you are having a horrible time in this bit.
It's Molly, yes.
Amazing.
And by this point, we are being told by our security detail, no, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. So, of course, you have to blame it on Jenny, who's doing a piece of camera, because the security have said, no, you've got to stop.
Because, of course, you can't acknowledge the security exists. Never.
Exactly, yeah. It's, you know.
Or the runners, or any of the other people.
No, that's the magic of television. You never acknowledge the people who do the actual work behind the scenes.
Which is terrible, really.
I mean, if you didn't sort of know from what we're saying here, you would believe that literally they just dumped the load of us in Scotland and went, right, off you go. Because it does just...
I think the worst thing is that Derry, bless his cotton socks, while visiting a country show, encountered someone at a model railway booth who was busy saying he'd been on the show. Now, of course, Derry got to know everyone who'd been on the show.
Yes.
Told everyone. And he didn't recognise this bloke. And then the bloke really revealed he was definitely not from the show, because he said, oh, yeah, those tents were all for show. We were all put up in luxury hotel rooms.
Oh, sod off.
It's like, no, we struggled in freezing temperatures at night. There we go. Yeah, it's horrible weather. I'm sorry. We're going to hide under an umbrella.
There is a beautiful shot there of, I think, oh gosh, what was it? It was like a public garden, I suppose, is the best way to do it. Like an eco-village.
Security there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's like an eco...
their existence.
There's an eco-village of some description which track is laid through. You're going down these, long, quite bleak roads on top of the hills. And then there's just like this little oasis of trees, and the railway went through this place. It kind of dives through a wicket gate, and then under wicket gate. That's not the word I'm thinking of, is it? Anyway, kind of dives in through there and through the village. And I was on the train team when we did that. It was the last night before the final day. By that time, we'd given up with the steam loco, as you'll see shortly. And it was a very odd experience just coming off this like dirt road into this eco village. And it's just all trees, and then you go past it, there's what would be a cafe, although it wasn't open. It was just like a little sort of hut, and made of straw and everything. Very odd place, but quite peaceful in its own way. It was nice to get a break from the rain, if nothing else. Okay, so we've come to the ad break there. I assume you guys are all in the same boat by now.
Indeed.
Okay, let's have a quick dip into the chat room and see what people are asking us. Justin joins us. Hello, Justin. Sharkbot Jones says, hey. Evening, Matt. How are you? Says Deborah. And I'm all right, thank you. Not Lobia. Oh, Les is here. Hello, mate. Merriest of merriment holidays. This is awesome, says Phil. I'm glad you think so. Congrats on getting into The Guardian. Yes, I got my name in The Guardian yesterday. Because
Congratulations.
Thank you. I tweeted about my Christmas plans, and a journalist from The Guardian sent me a message and said, would you like to talk to us? And I had nothing to do that afternoon, so I said, yeah, all right. And we had about half-hour conversation. And of that, I get about 2 paragraphs at the bottom of the article talking about what I'm doing on Christmas Day.
Oh.
Is any of that valid given the announcement?
It still is, actually, because funnily enough, we're doing a Christmas over Zoom anyway, so our plans haven't really changed in that regard. But still, it was interesting to be asked. Derry has this problem sitting next to Alex that the lag is such I can hear the answer before you ask the question. And incidentally, you're going to hear his reaction to that before you hear me say it. Is that the Silver Lady behind you? No, it's not the same one. It's an identical model, but it's not the one that did the trip, sadly.
No, Silver Lady definitely had a few special modifications from Roundhouse.
Yes.
If you ask Roundhouse to duplicate Silver Lady, they'll do it.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
But you know, it just goes to show how efficient Roundhouse engines are.
Roundhouse are brilliant. They really are.
Special modifications that they can do?
They adjusted the wheels so they had grooves to better grip on the rubberized track.
Yeah, this I was saying earlier, and then
the old triangle style.
Yeah, and then the second one, of course, they had the cogwheel on, so that was literally they fitted a cogwheel to the axle.
One of them has a secret we're not allowed to tell you about.
Oh.
Going thing that was like, yeah, one of them has a secret, and it's like, yes, it comes out in this episode. We've heard about it. It's a cogwheel. It's nothing really special, but there's a classified secret on set.
There's another thing on both models that comes on the actual model that was taken off, and that is the simulated drain cocks. Those didn't appear on the models we got in Scotland.
They're deemed too fragile.
Yes, indeed.
I was wondering if there were
5 minutes
changes to the boiler or anything like that. To make
No, the only change to sort of the factory model was they took these simulated drain cocks out. So on the remote control, normally there's a switch that you can flick, and you can either direct the steam neutrally, so it'll kind of just curl out the top, all the way up, so it will have a nice plume of steam, so it looks like the real big version, and then the lower setting will produce steam from sort of down here somewhere. There are literally some copper pipes which
it's not just simulated as in cosmetic.
No, it literally spits steam out the bottom. And
does yours have that?
Yes, mine does have that feature, and but the versions we took to Scotland had that taken off. Yeah. I think partly to save weight, partly to make it more steam efficient, and like Alex says, partly because it's a fragile component that you didn't need. So
looks to me like we're back in. Are we?
We are. Okay.
Mine never actually went to adverts, so I've had to pause it where it says there should be an advert. So
okay, no worries. Yeah, if we is yours playing still, Paul?
Yeah, I'm at and time keeps dragging on.
Okay, so do you want to hit pause there, and I'll tell you when we're at that bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we are ready, folks, we're going to press. I'm really tired. Press play in 3, 2, 1.
We're now listening to some fantastic train music here. The
48 hours.
All the producers in our team were desperate. What music do you know of that's train related?
It's brilliant because our camera crew that was with the train team on that first night going through, along the old Invergarry Railway was heard loads. We're just on the... Sorry, Paul, where did you say you were?
And time keeps dragging on.
Time keeps dragging on.
Subtitles.
In a minute. So I'm not sure if we've gone past it. This night was miserable. Sorry, we're just Have you passed the bit where we're in high vis yet, Paul? At night.
I've seen some people in high vis.
Do you want to press play and we'll work it out?
Are the producers and crew taking over for the night?
Yeah.
I'm seeing the map showing we're on the outskirts.
Okay, yeah. If you sorry, I've missed you there. If you resume, and I'll let you know. Prior to this bit was the worst night I spent on this project. There was a bit just before these guys came to take over, funnily enough, where we literally dip out off of the main road and follow a footpath, and because of the rain, it had literally just been a deluge of rain, and this was literally a stream. We were driving the engine through a stream. At one point we had to step over a toad that was suddenly bathed in the light from our head torches, and had this little train just puffing alongside it, just like, what the fuck is that? Anyway, so yeah, that was the most miserable night. We were all wet through. We were getting crotchety with each other. So when Hadrian, Dick and Claire showed up, we all felt mildly relieved, because it meant we were going home and back to bed.
I do remember being in the camp on this particular night, and the dinners are being served, and the poor caterers are like, "What's going on? Where are the people that we're supposed to be serving? You know, half of them seem to be missing. Well, half of them have just gone, sod this, I'm going to the pub."
I don't blame them. You guys
were out in the field, and after about half an hour of nobody turning up for dinner, one of the producers runs over and says, "Listen, could you pack some takeaway boxes? We're going to take it out to the team so they can have their dinner and while they carry on." And we're like, you couldn't make this stuff up.
No.
It was all top secret.
Oh, God. I don't remember much about this day. I think Mark and I decided to take a wander into Drumnadrocket because we weren't going out again until that evening. So we went and wandered, had a nice coffee in the shop in Drumnadrocket. Nice little town, actually.
Drumnadrocket is great if you're, definitely on my top places to
yeah.
get back to.
Joe, there were so many lovely little places along the route of the Great Glen Way.
But the Ness Inn in Drumnadrocket, just so homely, warm, inviting.
Oh, wonderful, wasn't it? Absolutely marvellous.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for better places to be, really.
I do find it ironic you're saying breathing and walking, bearing in mind by this point... Bearing in mind by this point we've lost Dick. Dick's gone.
The trouble is, this is like, semi-penultimate day here, we're going crazy. We are in so much trouble, really, because we're supposed to be dropped off at one end of our section, and the road's closed, and nobody knows what's going on.
Oh, brilliant.
So we basically spend an hour and a half on this bus as the guy tries to find the other side of our drop-off.
Yeah, not a lot of roads round the Great Glen Way.
And so naturally everything was in the wrong place. And we laid quite a bit, but at the same time, by the end of this, we had every team literally at the base position where we'd started. You guys up ahead talking about who's in charge.
But Paul just being very smug there, saying, "Well, I've got a plan here, so I actually know what's happening." Smugness well earned, I think, Paul.
The supreme team leader. Yes.
So yes, and this was true. We had the reports; they were going up the Rackapedian.
Yeah.
You can see here we've got this fantastic shot. It's going to walk itself up it, and it seems to be fine, doesn't it?
Yes.
Or does it?
No.
Yes. The answer is the rubber strip itself was the difference between it sitting and
sort of hovering just above it. Yeah.
The wood had been cut precisely to the heights required. They'd just forgotten about the rubber strip we were supposed to glue onto it. If anything was going to be a setup by production for a screw-up, this is it. We won't provide you with the loco that can prove the settings are right.
Yeah. Yeah, balancing precariously and wobbling. Yeah, more than it was already.
Yes, the great
they're
Caledonian monorail failed.
We'll just rip out the and get the winch out.
This is brilliant.
Those drills just lasted and lasted and lasted. I went home and bought one. You know, it's like, if you can survive 2 weeks of pouring rain, chances are you will survive most of my lifetime without a real failure, except maybe the battery.
We really should have had sponsorship by DeWalt for this program, shouldn't
we?
Apparently we did, and that's why they wouldn't let anyone see the other unbranded tools. But for some strange reason, that never seems to materialize in what we see later on.
No.
Perhaps they watched the edit.
Lord knows, but apparently at the end, when we all wanted to take away these tools, the production company took them all off of us.
Oh, shame.
And one of them actually managed to get to the plane with 5 battery packs, 2-volt battery packs in his luggage. The airline took it off of him.
Paul is getting some redemption in this episode. I think I think the way that was kind of mocked in episode 1 and episode 2, it's like Team British Rail. They're being very precise. That, the other.
It's worth mentioning.
It's coming together.
We've got 2 assistants on this day. Some locals who just went, "Yeah, I'm going to help you out."
Fair enough. Good on them.
Out a call on local radio, apparently.
Oh, amazing!
So we got 2 extra helpers that day, which was great.
You've got a story about that shot we've just seen, I think, Alex, where they're pointing out, and we've just seen Inverness.
Yes. That was literally at the very, very end of the day. We were supposed to take one route, but because of some weird mess to do with the way the water company had ran the reservoir around there, it wasn't safe to take the path that we were supposed to. So we had to go on this ridiculously windy route. It joined up with where we were supposed to go, but it was nowhere near as flat and level. And just reaching that point and looking out, we were so knackered. It was, thank goodness, we can see the end.
We're just seeing a shot there where I've just said you should be proud you've got it this far. I think poor Cameron and Andy were so despondent when we bumped into them. We drove it literally about 100 foot and it just gave up. It was like, nah, this isn't going anywhere. And you can see they're taking it apart here, Chris is. It just needed a full service. So as you were about...
We didn't actually get this message in Team D, or if we did, it didn't filter through to half of us, that's for sure. So, but there was definitely an atmosphere in camp that night.
I think the thing is, and I'm going to be very down on it in a minute. We got the electric loco back out at this point, and you're going to see me do a whole thing about how it's disappointing we're on the electric loco. But had we not done that, we would not have made it to the end by the end of the final day. So I think it was a toss up between let's go with this and get to the end, or wait for the engine to be fixed.
And I have to apologise there because I said the magic word Victorians.
Oh no! Drink.
Goodness,
Take a drink.
Bad enough Dick doing it. Yeah. So cheers to you.
Everyone's talking about their favourite steam engines here, which is just marvellous.
Got 4 camera crews. 2 of them have run off to go and see what Paul and Jenny are arguing about, and we're sat there with 2 camera crews, and they're like, "We've got to film something. You guys start talking about real railways. We'll just film that."
Being very disparaging of the electric loco, Matt. Hasn't got a personality.
I stand by this statement.
We were all knackered by this point.
Yeah, I know.
Everything was treated as a classified secret.
Yeah, I know.
Couldn't even find out what was for dinner.
Well, like we were discussing in episode 3, it took enough effort just to find out where we were supposed to be going each day, let alone what we were supposed to be doing when we got there.
We did fall. We did fall a bit in love with Ronald as a team, I think.
My children have given me this rhino. Let's stick it in the electric.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it did help. It brightened the mood a lot, because again, we were miserable. Me sprinting over a puddle there.
I think it's going at a fair old pace.
It did. Seriously, I know I've been very disparaging about the electric loco, but it ate up the miles. We were very grateful for it by the end. So. I think it literally got to a point where just around that corner there was no more track. So.
Yeah, I think that basically yes, the sanatorium bit was due to be laid by Team A the following day.
It's my Top Gear moment, chasing after the engine there. Okay, we've just come to another ad break.
Yep, I'm actually on an ad break for a change.
So Justin says that Rhino gave the loco character. Yeah, we're all right. Go on. I was grateful for the electric loco by the end. I did actually look at buying a Little John not long ago, because I think out of nostalgia more than anything. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Roundhouse make them anymore. So yeah, it's unfortunate. But
if Roundhouse don't make them, there's somebody who will.
I'm sure there will be some out there somewhere.
Having attended the year after it came out, the Garden Rail show. I think you were there as well.
Yes.
I think, Matt. You know, you helped out. You know, the joke of sticking Tunnocks bars in the wagons.
Yes.
People kept going, "Why are there Tunnocks bars in there?"
Inside joke.
Yes. I actually took with the layout that I bought, the O-gauge one. I went to Scotland and actually stuck Tunnocks bars in one of the coal wagons, and they kept looking at this and going, "Why are there Tunnocks bars in there? Are you tributing Scotland or something?" I'm like, "No, it's an inside joke."
Oh dear. That was a fun day. You were there as well, Paul, I think.
That was, yes.
Yes.
We had all the team captains there that day.
Yes, I've got the photo of them all. It was the first time they've been together since the programme, I believe. But yeah, no, that was a fabulous day. The National Garden Railway show in Peterborough. If there are any of you watching in the UK who are sort of within a reasonable distance of Peterborough, I highly recommend you go there when it's on next. I don't know when that would be.
2025. I'm sure.
Oh God, don't say that.
The latest Transport for London estimate on COVID normality.
No, I do recommend that. And while you're there, pop round the corner and visit the Nene Valley Railway. But yeah, no, I fully intend to go back to the National Garden Railway show. It was a terrific day out.
It's a
Great
fantastic
fun.
show. The number of just people there are great. And we had Silver Lady, of course. The one that did it. And we steamed her again.
Yes, on the demonstration layout, which was brilliant because...
As we discovered, though, we had a pointless layout.
Yeah.
Which some people will be going, no, it can't have been pointless. You were doing like miles of track to win the record. No. There were no points.
Yeah.
We did not have a switch anywhere on that track. It was just straight or curved.
Which presented a problem because the modified model didn't like going over points.
It just the club wheel underneath just went, "I like climbing, you point bits."
Whee!
Fall over and
oh dear.
It got a bit chaotic.
Just a little.
We did manage to get it round one complete circuit. I do remember, you know.
It was fantastic to see her actually steam again and out and about.
I seem to recall it was Andy Christie doing it.
Yes.
With great care, monitoring it every step of the way. It was.
I think.
Are you still on adverts, or have you carried?
Yeah, we're still on adverts at the moment.
Still on adverts at the moment. Yes.
So I'm going to hit pause when we're back into the program.
Okay, because I'm already on to the program. So let me know when you hit a map of Inverness.
A map of Inverness. Okay. All right.
You seem to get
okay, so I'm going to pause when I'm...
Channel 4 comedy. No.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I am now back into the program, so I'm going to hit... I was going to say I'll hit pause, but there we are.
No. Well, let's find this map of Inverness that we're supposed to pause at.
Okay. Here we go. Right, so for those of you watching at home, we're going to press play in 3, 2, 1. There we go. Okay. So we're on day 12, final day. There you go, there's Andy.
Silver Lady. No, she started it, she's going to finish it.
There's a tiny frog there.
Do you think it might be an indicator of how wet those weeks actually
Quite
were?
possibly, yes.
It's come on, guys, we're gonna do it. Oh.
There we go. Off on the final day.
She was running fine.
Yeah. Once she'd had a service, running beautifully.
Well, if we've got the map visible up to Inverness and the locos.
There we are. There's the map.
Now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There we go. And I've got the spiral. Lovely.
Excellent. So we're in sync. Hooray.
There's the spiral. Yeah. I think I'm a few seconds behind you guys.
There's the view we'd been at the day before, just looking out and going, "Yes, the city at last have reached the promised land."
The gleaming towers of Inverness.
By this time, we were in the final campsite, weren't we? I think it was.
Oh, that was It's like, no, you're not allowed to film in this campsite, really, and you're not allowed to go out there to where the. Oh, what you need facilities? Oh, yes. Well, you have to go into the middle of a caravan park. Those.
It was the kind of campsite which made Stalagluft look warm and welcoming.
It certainly had sort of stopped in like 1970s. This is luxury 1970s camping, and you go, yeah, but it's not anymore. But we did our best.
Yeah, they're just talking about why we've decided to end at Inverness Castle, because sacrilege, apparently.
Yes, I think that final night was definitely the one where almost nobody went for the provided food, and we all disappeared off down the carvery.
I wish we'd had that option, frankly.
Well,
I wish I'd gone with everyone and thought, but no, stupidly I stayed and ate the food. It was an hour late and cold. That view. I've still got photos of that view.
I have no photos because helpfully my phone died just before the engine got there, so I don't have any photos from the top of there. But I fully intend to go back and get some
photos. I actually genuinely am so sad that I was so busy laying track I forgot to take photos. It was just beautiful.
And there's that terminal station.
That is a gorgeous model. I love that.
And of course it's out of scale, but only because the production companies said 7mm O gauge. They didn't actually change and say no, actually it's bigger now. North Dakota. What can we say about Dakota? He's now a politician.
Is he?
I think that's all you need to know. Yes, he's a local politician somewhere in Kent.
Oh, it's all his fault then, is it?
It's like the night before we did this, he was saying, "Oh, the local politician's coming to see us. I'm like, oh yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Not one of us, but he has our leanings. What he's referring to is the Conservative Party. But
yes.
Of course, I found him actually telling the production assistants that Jeremy Corbyn was a terrible man.
Oh, God.
And that they'd be so much better off if they joined the Conservative Party. And I'm like,
yeah,
yes,
mate, you're talking to someone who works in the media. That's probably not going to go well for you.
Just won the general election as the Conservatives. We don't need to do this campaigning bollocks for another 4 years. Shut up.
Dear, oh dear.
He didn't get that, though.
It was very odd, wasn't it, Paul? You and me were sort of together for this because I insisted on coming and laying the last bit of track with Team C because it felt wrong not to. It was very weird laying it through a town in that way, I think.
Yes.
I
think especially when we got so used to being in the middle of nowhere, and every time we saw a car, we would all yell "car" because it was an important safety measure. And suddenly we were in a town where there were dozens of cars all over the place. And that got even worse when I got back home to London.
Team D had the pleasure of doing it through Fort William, which was an experience. Yes, going along the canal, and oh yeah, by the way, you've now got like a mile of the town before you turn off the cul-de-sac road that's another couple of miles long, and you go, okay, how do we do this? The petrol station's in the middle here, and we've got to cross it. Well, it's quite simple. We'll put some track over the petrol pumps area, and we'll just screw together some quick assemble track.
Here we go. There's us heading off with some track there. We got the delights, as you're seeing here, with the roundabout of laying along the new Inverness ring road. So
somebody said it was it Pippa who said, "Oh, here we go."
Ah, yes, that glorious view of the roundabout.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, and I will happily tell you that Team D started with what can only be described as a great mess up by the production team.
Oh dear!
Everyone involved. Yes, for some strange reason, our van delivery driver seemed to think that we were laying track to the train station.
Oh dear!
Which was quite close to the castle in reality.
Yeah, but
in the start, that I had to get in the van and collect 2 massive piles of track. That's
not ideal.
On the wrong.
There's just been a shot of Paul going across a bridge, which is in the middle of Inverness in a park. Just off to the left of that bridge, there's an ice cream stand. And the guy at the stand actually gave Team C free ice cream as a thank you for the programme promoting Inverness.
you Johnny Git.
I know. So you guys were all struggling. We'd done our bit.
We were waiting for track. Then we learned you guys had all the track. That wasn't fair.
Sorry. Not sorry.
You guys were having ice cream instead of laying track. That's what's wrong.
It was a very weird thing to be having, though, because it was freezing. But the gesture was nice.
Oh, it was quite warm, wasn't it, on that final day?
Do you know, actually, yeah, towards the end of the section, by the time...
Yes, it was quite warm.
By the time you got down by the river, the sun had come out, and it was quite nice. Yeah, it was probably the best weather we'd had all week by that point, so...
We mustn't forget the winds. The wind factor there was just... It was blowing quite bad that day.
We're about to see Simon in his waistcoat, I believe.
Ah, yes. Poor soul, pretty much only
taking his jacket off because it is warm.
Yes. There you go, that's it, and doing it there, look. There you go. I do just love the fact that Team A were just frantically laying track to keep ahead of the train. It just shows that we were doing this right up to the wire. I think
they were doing the full Wallace and Gromit experience, weren't they?
As the production company put out, the infamous Wallace and Gromit track laying gift was put out with the railway. That on Twitter, you just looked at it.
Some very bewildered locals there.
There were so many good locals and happy people that just looked around and went, "Oh, how lovely this is! You guys are great. What time's the train?" I think we're about to have another ad break.
We are, yes.
There we go. Adverts are starting.
Okay.
The locals were great wherever we went. I spoke to a couple of them.
There we are, into another ad break now.
They just chatted nicely with us. They loved us. They were like, "Oh, you guys are really weird. What you really doing? Sorry, it's been raining quite badly. Have you guys got some rain?" We're like, "No, we're going back to a tent. And because we're so fed up of the tents, we'll mutiny and go to a pub in town."
Oh dear.
I can tell you at Drum the Drocket, there's in the last episode you saw the map being displayed. The first time that happens, Team D were having a team meal in the Ness Inn because we were so fed up of poor catering and everything else. We just went, "No, we're going to have a team meal."
Do you know what? The catering wasn't that bad. I mean, it did get. It was fine. It was.
They were asked to cater for. Let's be honest.
The food we got was good.
Oh, the food was good.
When it got out to you by the track side, it was usually cold and congealed. So
yes, so we had a team meal, because we were going to have a meal in the warm with some walls around us, and the wind isn't going to chill our backs or whatever. And it was lovely, except for the fact that 5 minutes into our meal, a runner comes up and says, "Right, Jenny, we need you and your team back at camp." We're like, "No, we've just got our food." They're like, "Well, we need Jenny then," and they sent a car and drive her
amazing
to the campsite. So Jenny was like, "I am so proud to have been invited to be involved with this."
Right, I'm at the end of the ad break, so let me know when.
Yeah, if you want to hit pause then, Paul. I think we've still got a little way to go.
I don't know why I get fewer ads than you do.
Yeah, I don't know. You're obviously...
Are you a premium member or something?
I'm not. I mean, all my adverts have been for very posh things.
It's because he's down in London. That's what it is. They get special treatment down in London.
Bias, isn't it? Yes.
I think the people advertising to me pay more for the adverts. So I get fewer of them.
Oh dear. All right, something coming on the chat room. Justin says, "My favourite line of the series, that Southerns who were usually there wouldn't be on the Caledonian system. It's perfectly fine." I would like to know what the club members thought of that. Yeah, Dakota has this... I've got to be a bit careful what I say here because I don't want to be too cruel. He's got this wonderful quality of saying whenever he opens his mouth, rubbing at least one person up the wrong way.
He was constantly rubbing people the wrong way. Even in camp, we had to keep going, "It's okay, it's just Dakota." Walk away to another park. Genuinely, I'm sorry for those that have this picture in their minds. I'm sorry, but in the shower blocks at each campsite, he was busy spouting conservative propaganda. There was actually, literally, at the first campsite, Martin had gone into town and gotten a Scotsman and who'd come along with him, and he stood at the door for 45 minutes, and at the end said, "You're right, Martin. He's a prat."
Okay, I wasn't going to say this.
The best Dakota could have hoped for.
I wasn't going to say this, but Dakota was on the night shift train driving team for the last few days with me.
He had a reputation for crashing the train.
He did, yes. We saw that in the last episode. Just he was a speed demon. As far as he knew, the regulator had two settings: stop and go. There was nothing in between.
That's not what you do.
No, Dakota. That's not how steam engines work, mate. There were two people who, on the last night out, bailed at dinner time, so about 8 o'clock in the evening. One of them was Dakota, and I won't say the atmosphere was better after that, but it was certainly a lot quieter.
You see, I wondered why Dakota had suddenly been transferred back to the "you can help Team D lay the last bit of the
Yeah, it's because he went home and got a decent night's sleep while some of us were working.
We needed Florence. Florence was great. She kept everyone smiling. But Dakota, no, he didn't stop spouting conservative propaganda. And weirdly enough, every time he seemed to lose track or we weren't happy with him, he'd ask us where we were from. He'd then start spouting the constituency results for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
As if this mattered to any of us.
I will just say, though, Milton Keynes South, which is my constituency, if he's looking for the election results for the last 100 years, it has always been Ian Stewart MP. And that's a tale for another day. Right, I think we're out of the adverts.
Yeah, I'm out of the adverts.
Yeah, I'm at the beginning of the not adverts.
Okay, so if we are ready to resume, we will go again in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you can literally see the train now. Yeah.
So now is the true Wallace and Gromit moment. What you don't see here is that apparently the health and safety woman had banned running. So, some teams to get around it in her presence said, "You haven't banned skipping. Skipping is just as bad as running." And they skipped.
That is marvellous.
You saw the health and safety woman on site.
I offended her on the first day. I'm like,
it wasn't hard, to be fair.
I'd missed the briefing because I'd had to arrive later, and so I had to wait for my private briefing with another person who'd been brought in as help. And I basically said to her, "I understand this. I work in a company that does health and safety related stuff all the time. Model railways, is full of knives and things."
Can I just point out that Lawrence has had to clarify there that he is not a Nazi because he used a German word. And that made it to the final edit.
We still do not understand, but brothels made it to the first edit, and apparently is not allowed to be seen in New Zealand. So the first episode is not allowed to be seen in New Zealand.
Did they not just bleep that out?
I know. Dear oh dear. When you think of the amount of hours of footage they had left over, there are two things that don't make sense to me. One, they could have done 6 episodes. And two, some very weird things make it into the programme which are not as interesting as things that didn't. Yeah.
Well, we've got a little bit of our Team CD rivalry.
Yes.
Team C over the bridge into Team D
sorry,
territory.
Paul. CD rivalry. I've already told you. You guys had somehow gotten all the track. Delivered all the track to your section. We just managed to get to where we were, and
we had used it very well.
Stomach, or in this case, marches on its track.
Yeah.
and
dear.
Is this the infamous? We're going to stage the Grand Connection because I think we shot it 3 times.
Yeah, they. I think we literally took it apart and put it back together again 3 times.
Because we've got 2 camera teams going. We don't want to interfere with each other's angles here, but we need to do it. And
well, do it better. Here we are, the Helix. Now,
I wish I'd seen this in person.
It was stunning because we started our track section, Team C, just adjacent to this, so we went down and had a look at it before we started laying track, and it was marvellous. It's a stunning bit of engineering. I mean, my favourite one, of course, is the oh gosh, where is it? The Trestle Bridge. Forget where that was.
Yes,
yeah.
That was stunning.
That was my favourite special build. I have to say, it was
that Trestle
stunning.
Bridge, I was not allowed to photograph.
Oh.
They literally, half them taking photos, and they said, no, we can't trust you to take a photo. Like, are you kidding me? We've all signed the same document saying we won't reveal before the show goes out.
Well, quite, Here, it's going on to it now. Yeah, this for functionality, brilliant. You know, it's not pretty to look at necessarily, but it is marvellous.
I have to say, I am not building this Helix like this into my garden rail.
No, I don't blame you. Oh yeah, ham it up, Dick. There's Cameron in the cage there.
Yeah.
I think they were saying last week that Cameron had to climb over the whole thing to actually get in there, so they had to do it while the health and safety lady's back was turned.
She was a nightmare to work with as a general rule.
To be fair though,
after I'd told her, I'm sorry, you know, I do this for a living, it's just common sense, health and safety is a bit... She said to me, "Don't say that, it's my job."
I'd forgotten that the fire went out. Oh, bless her. She doesn't go backwards very well anymore, does she? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, the reversing is pretty much kaput.
Yeah. Runs beautifully forwards. Last time I saw her.
To disable the reversing gear because it was so badly damaged that if it accidentally slipped into it, it might actually jam.
Oh God! Oh no, it's come off.
The Inverness castle, could we?
I don't know. Some of the slopes we were expected to get the engine up were a little bit. Hang on a minute, this is almost as bad as.
Oh God!
The winch territory. You've had us going up steps that are at an angle the same as the winch, but no winch. I think by a miracle we did get it up those steps. You know.
Yes, I remember that. Just on the approach to the castle, there was like some stairs.
Yeah, with it built up there. That was.
Yeah.
I've got a photo of the engine coming up there somewhere, and I think I might have. I don't know if I've shown this to you guys, but it's a photo of Silver Lady with a face edited onto her, looking very annoyed, going up that incline, and the caption is basically, "No, we are not going back the other effing way." It all gets a bit emotional from here onwards, doesn't it?
Well, we were just so fed up by this point. We'd been waiting 45 minutes for track. We found out Team B had, you know.
There we go, Paul, off to save the day.
Yeah, there's Ollie going, "That's where our track is."
Yeah. I love that the engine in that shot currently going past a pile of track. How did that happen?
Just letting some of the kids have.
There we go. Well. Last bit in place.
Fantastic. I think that looks like take 2.
Yeah. It was really emotional, actually. This final walk along
and get drunk. He genuinely went to the pub straight away. Ollie and half of them are absent as soon as the champagne has been thrown over us. He's gone. There we go. Typical British Railways, they're always late.
This was beautiful. So just the number of people that just sort of gathered and were walking with, like, you've got the crowd of volunteers, you've got all the production crew and the cameras. There were just all of these people just kept flocking with us, you know, following this little steam engine. It was pretty sort of marvellous, actually, just seeing it. You know, just how many people just sort of grouped together and then went up to us with the castle and see it come in. It was pretty extraordinary.
There's a handshake between the two teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like a ticker tape parade, effectively, wasn't it? Just well, without the ticker tape, that would probably have derailed the train. But...
Someone on I started a group chat with some friends who were watching this, and someone on my group chat actually asked me to send Alex a message about him talking about being autistic here and saying how inspirational he was. I don't know if you remember that, Alex. I think I sent you a Facebook message after the show.
You did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did send me the message.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was so important to me to sort of get this across. It's like, you know, that, to a degree, there's an awful lot of autistic modelers, and it's almost like a symptom of it. Do you like model trains? Do you like order of model trains? There's a chance you might be autistic and just never been diagnosed. But for some strange reason, as I said earlier on in the episode, people think that because you've got a disability,
there's Derry.
That's it.
Here we go, final straight. There were tears.
She was knackered, she was half dead, and there's me being told, listen, don't hit the buffers at the end. You've got to get
Chance would be a fine thing.
I'm like, she's barely running. I've got to make her go in. Not.
There we go.
There you go. See, I just had to open up just that little bit of extra to get her through to the.
I'm welling up watching this. It's even this many years later. I welled up when it was broadcast the first time. I'm welling up a bit now. It was just. I mean, I think at that point it was just, this has been worth it, and it was magical.
Well, I think, you know, so many people miss that behind this, it wasn't just like us, like 53 volunteers that really worked hard.
No, it was
there was another 100 people in the background working so hard to try and make this work. Possibly not essential was half the Love Productions senior office crew that just seemed to be in the way half the time. And
yes, I did sometimes feel we could probably have done a bit better if they'd just told us where we're supposed to be going and let us get on with it. But
finding out their chief accountant, when we'd reached Drumnadrochit, had rapidly gotten on a train to speed to Scotland as quickly as possible, because people were putting H and Claire were putting their drinks on the bill for the production company. I'm like, you've just spent more money getting there to try and stop this than you would have spent on the drinks. There you go, Paul. Yes, it did feel impossible at so many points.
Yeah. There's Dick.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I'm glad this got in.
Please.
Oh, bless him.
He was so fantastic throughout. It would not have been as much fun as it was without Dick about. No. He was a great bloke, really.
There you go. There's me shedding a tear. There's Martin with his rhino.
Yeah.
That my monologue to camera didn't make it in. You know, there was a wonderful moment where a camera crew collared me and said, "How are you feeling right now?" And I was like, "It's pretty extraordinary." It's, you know, and I just sort of pointed behind me and said, "You look back. There's a beautiful view there of the River Ness and back into Loch Ness down the Great Glen Way. We've walked that and built a railway along it. We genuinely built the biggest little railway in the world." And I'm sort of stunned. And I was gutted that didn't make it into the edit, because that was a really emotional moment for me. And there you go.
With all our favourite bits.
And that's it.
Wow.
That was it. Yes, the episode.
We did back off to a church hall for some curry.
Yeah.
Where the production crew just went nuts and were completely passed out pretty much by the end of the night.
To be fair, you can't really blame them, can you? I think everyone was just... as lovely as it was...
in hotels.
Well, yes.
We were the ones camping.
As brilliant as it was, though, and as emotional as that final moment was, going into Inverness there... I think the overwhelming feeling we all had when that evening, having our curry and sort of our wrap party, was, thank God that's over.
Yes, but of course what doesn't get shown is the the morning of departure, where the production company, for some strange reason, had sort of created this weird and wonderful list of times for departures.
Yeah, it was weird
I found out that I was on a 7 a.m. departure, and I'm like, my car's at Inverness Airport. I've driven up because you guys have said, why are you sending me off at 7 a.m?
I think
the breakfast didn't even arrive until 10.
Paul, I think you went before me, didn't you? I think Dick and I were sort of mid-afternoon. I think our flight was about 2 o'clock from Inverness Airport. But it was very weird just watching people sort of trickle back into camp to get their things and then trickle back out again. It was very, very odd in the camp that morning because
it was very strange, and my mobile phone had died, so I spent that morning running around Inverness trying to find whichever phone shop opened first to buy myself the cheapest phone I possibly could.
That was
actually
horrible.
Work out what I was doing.
Because they gave us, didn't they, these little chargers for mobile phones?
I've got mine somewhere.
Yeah, I've still got mine, but they're rubbish.
They literally held enough charge to charge a phone overnight, and they would be dead by morning.
See, mine wouldn't even do that. I would plug mine in, leave it in overnight, about 50% if you were lucky.
Did you have one of the black ones or one of the little tubular
The little tubular lipstick-shaped ones.
Ah, you see, I've been clever. I knew exactly how crap those were straight away. And I'd given mine to a colleague saying, it's all right, my phone's got plenty of charge. I can wait for the next batch.
See, I was smart because I bought with me from home one of those little Anchor batteries, which are brilliant. It's about the size of a pack of playing cards, a little USB connector. I bought that with me, and I stuck it into charge with the rest of them one night. And I came back about an hour later, and it was gone. And I don't know which of you buggers took it, but if I ever find out, you're dead.
It wasn't me. I had a very nice, very efficient black one that worked.
It was snuck inside the Little John loco to power it.
Nothing would surprise me at this point, to be honest. Oh dear. Oh, all right.
So I just sort of the wrap-up party came, and you're just like, oh yeah, we need to charge these for tonight so that we've got phones tomorrow. And they're like, no, we finished. No, we don't have to do any kind of support for you anymore. You know, half the tents have blown away. It's okay.
Ah, yes, that storm on the last night.
Oh God, yes.
We were about to head off to the wrap-up party, and half the tents were trying to take flight.
Yes, I remember that. We ended up grabbing one and sort of
going, it's missing. You know, half the tents are flying off right now. They're not staying in the ground here. You need to send someone, and they're like, can't you do something about it?
Oh God.
No, funnily enough, I'm a volunteer who's laid loads of track for you. You guys need to get here. This is our accommodation. And yeah, they said, okay, we've heard about it. We'll deal with it. And as I was leaving, finally, 3 production assistants turned up from the office crew going, oh yeah, they're blowing away. We'd better go and help.
Oh dear.
As if this didn't matter, you know. It's like they were trying to climb the fences as well. It wasn't just like they were just blowing around the campsite.
There's literally, if we hadn't grabbed a tent, I think we would have ended up with half of them over on the new Inverness bypass. It would have been.
That would have been an interesting mess.
Yeah. You can imagine briefing the cleanup crew on that, can't you? Right, you've got 70 miles of track to pick up. There's also some tents in the river over there somewhere, heading out to sea.
Even worse, they were rented tents
for
the event as well. So it's like somebody wants them back at the end of this.
Oh God.
It was a mess.
It really was. Oh dear. Right, if you guys have no objections, we are going to take a short break. I have just posted in the Biggest Little Railway in the World group chat with the link to the Zoom call. And when we come back, we're hopefully I don't know if anyone will turn up, or if they are,
Gary
who
will
will
join us on his own.
There will be at least one other person joining us. There may be a few others trickling in. I'd said about 8:15, but I've just reposted the details in our group chat. So we're going to go for a quick 5-minute breather. I'm going to refill my drink and sort myself out. And then when we come back, we'll hopefully have some more people for you all to talk to. But in the meantime, if you do have any questions for any of us who are here at the moment or anything like that, do chuck them in the chat room. Paul, do you need to go yet, or have you got a few more minutes?
I think, this is me done. So
You're done. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been lovely.
Pleasure to see you, Paul.
It's been fantastic to see both of you, and I will very much look forward to hopefully being able to meet up with you at some point within the next year, maybe.
It's not looking good at the moment.
Parents own a guest house. I am trying so hard, if we can just get COVID to stop interfering, to go, we'll have a nice catered event. There's a nearby travel lodge for the extras that we can't fit into the family accommodation.
Hey, look, if you want to have a long bank holiday weekend where we all come and help you build your garden railway, I am absolutely down for that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, we can build about 70 kilometres within that much time, so...
regrettably, I'd love that, but the problem is that I'm in Derby. The family is in.
Oh, I see. Fair enough.
So I don't have that kind of accommodation space.
Damn.
There's plenty of hotels in.
Have we got some tents?
I never want to see a tent again. All right. Well, Paul, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure, and again, like we said, hopefully we'll see you very soon once
very
this
much hope so.
nonsense
Happy
is all over and done with. Happy Christmas, or as happy a Christmas as you can have. Take care.
Indeed.
We'll speak soon. Good night. And as for you, Alex, you'll be joining us after the break. So all I would say is I'm going to go quiet for a bit now and stick the Be Right Back card up. Back in a minute. Hello, everybody. We're back now. I've got one other person in the chat, so we'll introduce him again. It's my good friend Derry. Derry, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. We can hear you. We can't see you.
It's going through Alex's mic.
Okay. Yes. So you.
Ah, there we go.
Hello. This could be interesting.
I'll move to another room.
There we go. No, that's working perfectly well. Lovely stuff. How you doing, mate?
I'm alright, and you?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, it is slightly echoey, but it's just manageable. So we'll work with that. Yeah, we've posted in the Biggest Little Railway group chat. I'm hoping we might get sort of 2 or 3 more people turn up, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So Derry, I think we'll come to you first. Obviously, I think you've been watching along with us, although you weren't sort of taking part in the commentary.
I followed with you all the way till the last episode.
Yeah.
And this most recent episode, the whole Alex talking and then me hearing the question just got to me.
Oh dear. Brilliant. Yeah, so I think I don't know if were you watching the episode as well while we were on air there, or?
Yeah.
You are, okay. Anything from that kind of jumps out as a big moment for you?
Well, I don't know if you guys ever saw them, but the production team had invited this large group of modelers who all worked in O-scale to just have a cavalcade of trains run on the line.
Really?
And they all turned up, went, "Oh, you use plastic track," and went away again. That was it.
That is incredible. About par for the course, really, but still.
There was just this large group of people there, all holding their expensive Bassett Loke models and all the rest. And they just went,
"Oh, there's
not our track.
No power."
Goodbye.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. See, they missed a trick there. They should have got in touch with the local 16mm society, but they didn't, so...
Well, I do also remember standing next to Rod, who was there going, "It's fine, give me a minute, I'll get like 20 people." Because, of course, he was like one of the 60mm reps.
Of course.
But yeah, none of them turned up. They just had this. They just had all the double O and O scale modelers there going, "No, doesn't work at all."
No. Oh well. Oh dearie me. Never mind. Anyway, anyone got any questions for people in the chat room? By the way, do fire them away. We're here for as long as it takes for us to get bored, really. But we'll.
You want to talk about mental health awareness?
Yeah, any of that. Anyone has any questions on anything, really? We're pretty much an open book. So, yeah. Justin says, "I would like to say being a walking dictionary is absolutely a superpower. I've been described as that, and though it was meant as an insult, I always took it as a compliment." And I think you should. There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It does depend on the dictionary.
True.
Yes, I think I love the people that attack me for various reasons, and because they go, "I've insulted you, now you can't come back at me." My stream name in a lot of games is actually Crofty 2009. Now, why is that? Because they used to go, Crofty is useless, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, then fine, I'll prove I'm not useless. There's Crofty, I'm a gamer, and oh look, I'm high scores again. Thank you.
Oh dear.
It's lovely when they try and insult you, but at the same time, you've got to go, "You guys have nothing better to do? Why?" You could have, read the same book I once read and know what I know by now.
Yeah.
But no, you're going to carry on trying to insult me.
There but for the grace of God and all that. Oh dear. I'm a little disappointed in our group chat, I have to say. Not one person has attempted to join yet. But,
well, I do have a sort of apology from Will Jarman.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Who said, "Oh, I forgot, I'm out shopping."
Fair play, I'll let him off then. Fair enough. Oh, bless him. No, we like Will. Will's a good bloke. He has come and watched every single episode, I think, as well, up until this evening. So, well, yes, that's sort of a given, but you know.
I did have a phone call with H the other day, Adrian, and he wishes us all Merry Christmas.
Oh, bless him. That's good.
Yeah.
He's still getting those phone calls.
Oh, what? They're letting him know that we're off out for lunch.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the daft brute actually gave out his proper mobile address.
You fool. Oh, blimey.
There's a production company issuing burner phones to all their staff.
And telling him, yeah, we can give you one. And he goes, no, I can't be asked to learn another number. Just use mine.
Here's a question. How did you all hear about Biggest Little Railway in the first place? I'll take this one first and then fire over to these two lovely gentlemen. I heard about it because there was actually a news article that they were looking for participants. And it showed this wonderful photo of the track with a little blue O-gauge locomotive on it. And I didn't think anything of it, having first heard about it. And then one of my friends from the Nene Valley Railway, a gentleman called Zach, who is a very dear friend of mine, actually posted on Facebook that he had applied and chucked the link in. And I thought, oh, well, I'll give it a go. I thought, because Zach is a keen railway modeller. I mean, I model railways, but I'm more of a dabbler. I'm not what you would call a seasoned modeller. I've never built anything sort of substantial by myself. Anything we've done was when I was a child working on it with my dad. Which is going back many years since I've had a proper scale layout. But anyway, that aside, I threw an application together over the course of an evening. It was late into the night, and I was due to go to the Nene Valley because I was volunteering with the loco crew at that time. So I had to be up at about 3 a.m. to get there for a 5 a.m. start. So late into the evening, I couldn't sleep and was prattling about on my phone, saw this link, opened up my laptop, fired off an application. I thought it was the middle of the night, then they're going to take one look at it and just go, nah, they're going to discount that. I then went to the railway the next day, and on the last journey of the day, I fell off the loco and broke my leg. Which is a story my subscribers has probably heard before, but the gist of it is I broke my leg and was then on crutches and had a leg brace on for the next 2 months. About a month and a half in, still with this leg brace on my leg and in tremendous pain and with a walking crutch, my mobile phone rings while I'm at work. And it is a lovely chap whose name I forget from Love Productions, saying he would love to have a chat with me. So I phoned him back when I'd left work, and we had a conversation. He just sort of asked me a bit more about the stuff in my application and, what was the interest in the project and the like. And we had a lovely chat. He said, we'd like to invite you down to just a meet up in London, just to, gauge your interest, see if you're any good for the project. So, filed down to London, met Dick and Paul while I was there, which was lovely, and a few other people who I remember from the project, but I don't remember which ones, if that makes sense. But there were a few people I met on that day who I remember did make it onto the programme. Went down to London. I just had my leg taken off the brace at this point, so I was in agony. I was sort of limping about on my broken leg, thinking to myself, do not mention to anyone on the production team you broke your leg, you moron. And we had this event where you guys probably remember doing this. We did like a project to build bridges in our group. I think the other team had to build like a trebuchet. And so So we did all these little projects, and I went away at the end of the day. I thought, well, I've had a cracking day, but I fully suspect that I won't hear back. So I dropped an email to the bloke from the production company a couple of days later. Not with any aim in mind, really. It was just I just wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity to come down and audition. I would genuinely love it if I could be on the project, but obviously I appreciate you may have people who are more suitable. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I want to wish you all the best of luck with it, and I really look forward to seeing the programme when it goes out. About 2 days later, my phone rings again, and it's the same chap from Love Productions. Again, I wish I could remember the guy's name. He was a lovely guy. And he says that we would like you to take part in the programme. And I then came out from the back office of my then job on a college reception desk with a huge grin on my face, and my colleague Andrew sort of looked round at me and went, "You've just had some good news, haven't you?" I said, "Just a bit, yeah." She went, "What?" Because I told her I was applying, but that I wasn't really expecting anything to come of it. And I said, "Well, put it this way, I'm going to need about 2 weeks annual leave in June because I'm going on the telly." And, that was how I got onto the programme. And it's still the most bizarre set of circumstances I've ever experienced. And I will hand over to these two lovely gentlemen now, who I'm sure will share their own stories.
If one of us mutes while the other one's talking, it would solve all the sound problems.
Well, why don't you go first, and I'll mute mine.
Okay, well, that solved that one. So my story weirdly begins with Les, who was, of course, in Team D. And because someone else had put it up on a group we were both on. And most people was on Facebook, and this group, most of the group were there going, well, that's clearly a trap. Who would make a TV show about all that? Who'd do all that? And I was sort of like, well, I mean, I'd be totally up for it, because from what I could see, I said, they're not asking for money, they're not asking for people's details. This is, they're talking, they're just wanting modelers who'll sign up to do this. So I said, yeah, fine. And then I was like, well, now it's just an opportunity to meet other people all from the same group. And so that was roughly the same time when Les signed up. And it was in this knowledge that, well, at least there'll be someone else there that I'll be able to talk to about other things. Even if this is like some weird hoax thing, but why would it be a hoax? So yeah, I signed up for that. Then yeah, same as you, I got a phone call from Mona Forsey, who Mona, fun person on that one. But basically, through all of my applications, I've always taken this far more jokey, laid-back attitude, because why bother? What the company even says, they don't need to know all your life details. They just need to know that you're up for it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And
I took the same approach when I was filled in a form for Hunted. I signed up for Hunted at the same time. Basically filled them out in the same way, this jokey kind of, I don't really care, but at least it's something interesting to read. And she got back to me and I was like, yeah, no, you're actually really well experienced, you've got lots of outdoors experience, you know what you're doing in the outdoors and the Scotland, and you like trains, that's pretty much all we needed. So yeah, I, like you, went down to London. And then from there, my mum decided to just get involved. And when it was coming up to, she read through all the things that, like what we'd be doing in Scotland when we had that itinerary sent to us.
I remember that.
And she decided to phone Mona, because Mona had stupidly left her office phone number with us. Mum phoned Mona and was there going, I think you'll find that Derry would like a hotel. I'm like, no, genuinely, I don't mind. And she's there going, no, you will get a hotel.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, and Mona was there going, no, seriously, lady, there aren't enough hotels. I'm having to sleep in a tent there. I don't know why you think that Derry's going to get... He says that he can sleep in a tent. He's going to sleep in a tent. Then my other one was, for both going down to London and going up to Scotland, I said I wouldn't fly. So I'd catch the train. And for some reason on their system, Gabowen isn't a station. You cannot. They could not order a station, order a train from Gabowen train station. And I was there going, what? What? And
what like, do you mean? I'm looking at it. I'm standing here now.
It's on the railway map. You can order tickets from there. I was like, what can I say? So I said, fine then. Welshpool train station as the next, No, that doesn't exist either. No, can't find Welshpool. I said Shrewsbury, and they said, no, can't get tickets from Shrewsbury.
What?
It turns out they're searching. I talked to Mona later during filming, and she was like, "Oh yeah, it turns out it's just because they're searching stuff. Only allows you basically single direct trains."
Okay, yeah.
Which I said, that doesn't even make sense, because at the time there was a direct train service from Gabowen to London.
Yeah.
It was Shropshire and Wrekin. I was there going, but no, even your excuse doesn't work. So both times they took this thing of, well, the train down to London, it was just sort of like, you buy the tickets and we'll reimburse you.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. That worked. That works for me, because I went down there and sure enough we built the bridge, did all the rest, and Mona just appeared with this handful of cash and just pushed it at me and just said, "There you go. Since we couldn't get to Gabowen, I guess we don't know how much the ticket's going to cost." I'm like, "I've got the ticket here if you want to check." and vice versa, in going up to Scotland, it was okay. I'm like, oh, we're going to go through all of this again. Okay, yes, Welshpool. No, that didn't exist. No. Shrewsbury. No. Wolverhampton. Yes, we've got Wolverhampton. So I had to begin my journey the day before.
Yeah.
To get the morning train to get to Wolverhampton. To get the 9 o'clock in the morning train to get up to Scotland, because their itinerary assumed I began in Wolverhampton. It was just stupid,
God.
their logistics. But on the return journey, they allowed me to, basically, they gave me the money and told me I could get my own return ticket.
Fair enough.
I actually do have a ticket from Inverness to Welshpool.
Okay.
And on the way back, it didn't get stamped all the way from Inverness all the way to Telford.
Can I just ask, while you're talking about, what route did you actually go then? Did you go sort of northbound and then across, or did you have to go into London first?
No. To go across, so there were 4 people catching the trains.
Okay, yeah.
And all 4 of us were... Basically, I was the furthest, and so I had to first go up to Blackburn, Lancashire.
Okay,
where I met the Cameron.
Yeah.
Where we were both, and we sat together. Then we had to go across to York, where someone else joined the train. Noting that we were all put in seats next to each other, but we weren't told, and were told not to talk to anyone else about what we were doing.
Okay, yeah.
And then the 4th person joins the same route. And so through the entire journey, we just had this game of, well, I'm going up on a camping trip, he's going up for engineering, he's doing this, I'm doing that. And until we get to Inverness, and then there's a guy with a sign which just says "Biggest Little Railway" volunteers, and we were looking across at each other and go,
"Are you doing that?"
That's my taxi. But yes, on the way up, we go up all the way up. But no, on the return journey, this ticket collector stamps my ticket at Shrewsbury, and he looks at it and goes, "This is, I think it was the last train of the night, so it was like nearly midnight." And this guy goes, "Bloody hell, you've been on a long journey, haven't you?"
You don't know the half of it, mate.
And he goes, "Do you know what? You deserve a special ticket." And he pulls out this special shaped hole punch, which is for his special tickets.
Mm.
and punches a little unicorn out of the corner. and so I still have it. It's in my my wallet. It's a ticket with a little unicorn in the corner,
That
is
bloody
Inverness.
marvellous.
Inverness to Welshpool single.
Is that just so when you tell this story in the future, it will just have an extra, what's the word I'm looking for? An extra element of unbelievability?
No, because I still have the ticket. In fact, I would go and dig it out, but you wouldn't be able to see it with this camera. But yeah, this guy was like, "No, you've had one hell of a journey."
Oh, blimey. Oh, marvellous. I think if we cross over to Alex now, how did you get involved in the programme, and whatever funny story about getting there you've got? I'm sure you have one.
Yes. How did I get involved in the programme? It was terribly entertaining, really. No, quite boring, actually. I was on Facebook doing what I do as a boring businessman, just, checking the posts, seeing what's going on in the wonderful world of model railways. And on the 7mm section, there's this advert appears with a picture of Scotland, and it's like, 2 weeks in Scotland, travel a train, we're going to go across Scotland. I'm like, oh, okay. We're looking for volunteers. I'm like, well, okay. First things first, call up my grandfather who runs Slater's Plasticard and say, do you think a locomotive can actually make it from across Scotland? I was like, you're a professional engineer in effect in this subject. You supplied all these fantastic scale parts. Do you think they could actually make it? And he's like, they might do if they have one of our motor and gearbox sets. Not much chance otherwise. This you might expect, typical response, but of course he was proud of his work. And so I called up the production company, the number provided, and I got a lovely lass, I forget her name, but she says, "Oh, you sound like you know what you're talking about." As if she'd been receiving dozens of calls from random people that have just gone, "You're liars" or something, It says, yes. It says, so what do you think's a problem? It says, well, I'm just slightly concerned that, you've got to get this long distance, and that in scale terms, that these motors, gearboxes and whatnot really aren't built to go that far. I says, but, I'm on board if you are, so this sounds like a brilliant idea. I want to prove a point. I said, and my grandfather's factory is available, if you want to, do some back filming and whatnot, that's fine. And I sort of left it at that, and then I got an email saying, will you fill out this paperwork? And I'm like, okay. Then I got a message saying, will you come to London for this interview? And I'm like, this is getting more serious. And so I go down to London, and we did the bridge building challenge 2 in ours. The other side of the room, for those who are curious what was going on in this other half of the groups, they were building a catapult and to catapult an egg, and an egg catching device.
That was it. Yes, I remember now. Yeah,
that was what was going on in the other half. Nobody succeeded in that challenge, from what I understand.
I think the day I went, one did. I forget who, but there was definitely one who said they managed it.
I must have been on at the same time as Matt then, because we had one.
But it's fantastic, and we were just a couple of guys that wound up on the show were in with our session. We didn't have any of the senior team, basically. We didn't have Dick or anyone, so they'd been on the day before apparently, so we were a bit, you don't get the celebrity for this, I'm sorry. But we got the same challenges as everyone else, and they basically stuck us in this room with this not quite enough the right materials to build a bridge. But you're going to build a bridge, and we were like, okay, we can do this. And then we had this Pratt, bless his cotton socks, that was a micromanager. And he just kept going, no, I don't think that's how you build it. No, I don't think it's like, right, do you actually want to tell us how to build it? He says, no, I just don't think that's how you build it. So he just wouldn't.
He's one of these that goes, I don't know how to do your job, but my clipboard says you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's just terribly entertaining. And in the end, I actually said it right. You go sit down over there. He says, do you do model railways? He says, yes. I says, right. do you build baseboards? He says, yes, I've built my own baseboards. He says, right, have you ever stood on top of your baseboards? He says, well, no. He says, I have. So I know how to build a baseboard that's strong enough to stand on, so we better bloody well try and do this bridge. You go sit over there, and the camera's recording this. And made it. Because it's just a spectacular scene where I'm basically telling someone, no, go away. And then in the end, he sort of turns to us and says, I'm the only one that knows how to use the circular saw. So I said, fine, I'll use it. I hate heavy-duty power tools, but part of the reason for doing this show is I'm going to prove I can do these things. So yes, I went in there and I used this thing I was terrified of, and I used it and built this bridge. And of course, because micromanager Pratt had decided to translate what I was saying to the other members while I was busy trying to fix this Pratt's circular saw nonsense, the bridge suddenly turned into a large section of fuselage for a Boeing or Airbus plane. We instead of being a box section bridge, which is what I had planned, we suddenly wound up with this very flat structure that wasn't quite right. And then at the end of it, the guy in charge of the technicians came up and said, you know, that's exactly the kind of method they're currently using at Airbus to build the new A380 skins. I'm like, yes, thanks. I'm well aware that that's how that works, and that laterally, yes, we can sit on it fine, but we're not supposed to sit on the sharp end. We're supposed to walk on flat bits.
Oh, God.
and it got worse from there, because then the production team were doing these weird interviews. They booked a little suite off this room, and I got picked as one that had to be dragged off and given this interview. And it's like, do you like model railways? Yes, I've been involved in model railways since I was, knee high to a grasshopper, dragged along to see my grandfather's layout, and all this. But they said, oh, excellent, right. Do you have any engineering experience? Yes, I run a model railway company. This started to get very, very boring, but I was playing the part of this nice interviewer. And it was the afternoon, it was very warm. I was like the last person there with these production people interviewing me. It's just, I haven't had a drink in an hour, It was, can this guy survive long enough for us to prove he's worth bringing up?
The interviews were weird. I don't know if you got asked this, but at the end of my interview, they said, "Can you either tell us a secret about yourself, or can you tell us a joke?" And I was damned if I was going to give them a secret about myself, because I have dignity. So I told them a joke.
I told them a joke as well. It's like, no, you're not having any secrets.
I wasn't sure if they did that with everyone or not.
No, they definitely asked that question. I do remember it. And I said to them, fine, I'll tell you a joke. And I think they were expecting something railway related. Why did the chicken walk onto the football pitch? And they says, well, why? And he says, because the referee called for a foul. I said, I've known that joke since I was 10. It's still good.
I quite like that.
Derry says he's got something, so I'm going to mute for a moment to let him come across.
So I was given the same question. I guess we all were then. I had again secret or joke, and I said, I'll tell you a secret. Fucking hate the guy that guy from the team I've just been working with. And the sad thing was, when I went back in the room, they were like, one of the others who'd been going back through all the, had been like, oh, I told a joke. What joke did you tell? There were like roars of laughter. And I was like, it wasn't a joke, it was a secret.
Amazing. Oh, blimey. My joke was one stolen from my colleague, which you told me about 2 days previously. It's an old joke, but it's a good one. Did you hear about the explosion at the cheese factory?
No.
Debris everywhere. I like that one.
It's brilliant, but it's almost as bad as mine.
I'll tell you what, it had. I think I had Charlotte in my interview. It was like the sort of main person who was running the show in Scotland. And I remember telling that joke and sort of biting my lip and smiling, and she just creased up in the back, and I'm sat there thinking the joke was not that funny. It was,
I've heard that joke before. The sad thing is, I come from a place called Oswestry, which has a cheese factory that actually did once explode.
Yeah.
and when I think it was a new member of staff in the college I was at the time who told this joke, and one of the other members of staff just patted him on the shoulder and said, "It was a dark day for Oswestry." Don't joke about it. But with like the straightest face. And it was like, whoa, you crossed the line there, mate. The one place where you can't make the cheese factory joke.
Oh, blimey.
I've just spotted on the WhatsApp that, bless him, Lawrence is not able to join us because he's running around like a lunatic as they're about to enter Tier 4 at midnight.
Yes, I saw that message, bless him. Yeah, no. If Lawrence is watching this back, you do not need to apologise at all, my friend. It was lovely having you last week, and I wish you well getting everything sorted before midnight. You've got about 3 hours by my count. So
yeah, what some people may not realise at home is that Lawrence genuinely works with the Red Cross, and bless his cotton socks, him and his wife have been pretty much the only active members in the Essex region due to COVID, because there's so many restrictions on the volunteers on who can be involved at what age groups. So he has been so valiant in keeping the Red Cross going and just being on call almost 24/7. So I think we can give him the benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely, yeah. No, he's obviously rushed off his feet today, bless him. So we will send him all of the good wishes we possibly can. We have had another question from the chat room, which is, what was each of your favourite parts or moments of Biggest Little Railway? We'll throw that over to you guys first, because I need to have a think.
Okay, right. Well, I think it's a piece that didn't actually make it into the final cut. So much didn't, but this... you have seen that I drove the engine over the finish line, and basically that worked out about 1.5 miles of trundling if we were getting the maths right about there, something like that. But what you don't know is the story leading up to that. Now, being autistic, I take the rules as if you're saying you're doing something, that's how it goes. The production company had very firmly told every single one of us before we even left our nice homes in England or wherever to go to Scotland, that you're going to take a turn at driving the engine, so it's all going to be fair. And then after about 4 days of driving the engine, they went, no. We
haven't got time.
Have the teams, they get up to speed, it's taking too long. No, we're going to keep the same team as is now. And I genuinely threw a nut. I wasn't evil, but I threw a nut. I first spoke to our camera producer, Cara. She was lovely. She says, I'm not pleased with this news at all either. It's not right. It's not fair. It's ruining my stories. And then I threw a nut at Charlotte in the production. And I genuinely have to say that sometimes you do have to put your foot down. And I did. And I said, you know I'm autistic. I filled out the paperwork. I've been honest with you. You promised me this. I want to be at least able to drive the train for a few minutes. I'm not asking for you. And Charlotte's there going, well, there are questions about whether or not you'd be able to keep up. I'm like, I've been laying track for days. You know, one of the teams that actually laid quite a bit of track, really, and you say I can't keep up. And the Cara, bless her, was going the same. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And then we're along the canal side, and Cara films the sequence that part of which made it into the last episode there, where I'm talking about, you know, walking, talking encyclopedias and autism and how it affects me and all the rest. So little of it actually makes it to the cut, but that set up the production company on this path of, we've got a road to redemption. And I didn't know about it. But in the end, we all figured out that this was a fantastic setup, but the they held a draw, ladies and gentlemen. They held a draw on camera. We are going to draw who gets the map to take home from the show. Which I can't remember who got it. Was it Cameron who got it in the end? Someone got it.
That'll be why he's gone silent.
But the map you saw in the picture was genuinely given away. And then the second point, we're going to auction off who gets to take Silver Lady over the finish line. And I'm looking at this going, oh, well, this sounds like a fair deal, it's a reasonable chance, everyone's got a chance. And then I spot in Dick's hands that he's crumpled up. There's a tiny piece of paper that matches the size of all the pieces of paper in there. And I just went, okay, I'm going to watch this with interest now. And funnily enough, it was my name that was drawn out. I had to come out. They never used that shot, I suspect, because anyone who bothered to analyse the footage would have spotted this little piece of paper not so well hidden in Dick's fist.
Having heard this story, what I want to know now is what else did they fit up that we don't know about?
You know what? There's so much that they could have done that we just don't know about. We could make a whole series about the conspiracies behind the scenes of who's doing what and who's doing this. And I feel sorry for the security guards because I know for a fact that Maggie was partying till like 3 o'clock in the morning, half drunk out of her mind, in their accommodation at numerous points. And the poor old security guards just want to sleep. They're on 18+ hour days. It's worse than because they need to make sure they're briefed before going out and they're debriefed before going in. So yes, Maggie was causing quite a bit of disturbance, and some of you may have noticed that Maggie was not on Team D for the final day. No, poor old Lawrence got Maggie, but apparently she walked off to check something, and it was 2 hours before anybody saw her again.
Oh dear.
Whether that's fully true or not, I couldn't say, but she definitely disappeared for 2 hours, and nobody seemed to know where she was from Lawrence's team. It's suspicious, isn't it?
I remember one day where another team was saying Dakota disappeared for 2 hours.
I'm going to patch Derry through now. So
okay.
This will be fun. He's got more to.
Oh.
In terms of people disappearing for 2 hours, I had a fascinating one where another team complained that Dakota had gone missing. I don't know why they were complaining. But he'd gone to our team, Team B, to give us a motivational talk.
Oh, Christ, you poor things.
And he gave us a half-hour talk before disappearing back off again in his yellow raincoat. And someone made the thing sort of going, why is he wearing the raincoat from It? Is he hoping to get kidnapped or something? But no, my greatest moment actually came on when I was driving the train, which must have been about day 2, day 3. It was just before the bridge across the lock, bridge across the canal lock.
Yes,
about a mile short of it. We'd passed through the Forestry Commission, and then it passed on to a farm. And the farm was a bit weird. But anyway, my team had laid the track on the same place the day before. And so we were like, it's okay, we've been over this. My team laid this track, and but there's this random hillock in the middle of the farm.
Right.
Just it's about 30 foot high.
Okay.
And this path goes all the way over it. And the farmer said, no, you can't go around the hill. Yes, I know, you can walk all the way around it. It's like 30 foot wide, the perfect hillock thing. He said, no, the path goes straight over it. You're not allowed to go around. You have to go over it. And we're like, okay, fine. We'll lay the track over the top of this thing. Anyway, when I was coming along with the train, we go up over the crest at the top of it. And I noticed that he'd made some modifications in between when we'd left and when the track had gone there. And it has this really quite steep down slope with a little ramp at the end. And this guy, this old grizzled grey guy with a big grey beard and a walking stick was there going, ramp it, ramp it, ramp it, ramp it. And I was someone drove from the train, and I was like, I'm genuinely so close. I really want to just push it forward, just send it. And he was like, no, it's fine. I tested it. I got some old, and he pulled out this battered old tin plate O-gauge loco. I was like, this thing went down. Watch it. Ramp. And sure enough, and we were like, yeah, your little tin plate thing isn't worth like $2,000. I don't think it's even worth 50 pence, mate. We're not going to ramp it. And he was there going, you let me down. You let me down, boy.
Oh, God, sorry, you've broken me.
But he was like, but no, he put his head on my shoulder and he pointed across the field. And he said, those are the graves of my ancestors. You let all of them down. I was like, what the fuck? Strange old man. So Silver Lady, the track team went down, moved the track across a bit off his little ramp, and took off the tin plate wind up model, and Silver Lady slowly went down the hill and then onto a road, and we joined up with the next train driving team.
I think that would have been me and Simon, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It was, yeah. But it was this. There was this. All the way to the end, I was like, well, at least I'll have one thing where, even if other people are there going, it was really great, I let one person down. Because I didn't ramp Silver Lady off the bottom of the hill.
That is pretty marvellous. Oh,
but it was
dear.
because from there on, whenever there was anything like the spiral, or there's a staircase toward the end and a couple of other bits, I just hear it in the back of my head. It was just like, ramp it, ramp it, ramp it. As I was kind of like, no, I can't let that guy down, but I have to, because Silver Lady has to get there.
Oh, God. Do you know, I've always said I will write a book one day based on this whole experience. That story is going to have to go in there in some shape or form.
I have written down all of my stories into a thing on my computer, as well as some pictures and stuff. Written in a comedic style. I am hoping to kind of wrap up and get stories from other people written up into the same thing. So.
We should do that, because I think that would be pretty sort of marvellous. Yeah. Awesome. Right. What was my favourite moment? God, I don't feel like I can top that. Probably my favourite moment would be, you saw a little bit of it in episode 2, was it, or episode 3? Must have been episode 3. It was when I did the first stint with the train team on the night shift, just after you had Derry. And I think my favourite moment probably was, I told the story last week, but I'll tell it again. We left the sort of main road and the main footpath, having done a few hours with the train. We stopped up, had our dinner, and we were near what is Invergarry station. There's no station there now, but the platform is in situ. There's a little bit of track and an old diesel shunter. So we got to there, and one of the production team comes up after we finish our dinner and says, right, you've got a decision to make, guys. We can either go home now, because I'm aware it's getting on a bit. It was about sort of 8 o'clock, 8:30 by this time. The light was starting to fade. And says you can either go back to camp now, or if you decide to carry on, you need to be aware it's a good few miles along the old track bed, but there is no road access. So if you do that, you're going to need to go all the way to Abershelde, which is this many miles away. I forget how far precisely, but it was a good few miles. I think each of us, without really prompting, just went, yep, we're down, we're up for it. So the production team left us on our own, this little team of people. Simon was there, Mark was there, and I forget who else now, but it was me, Simon, Mark, definitely, and our camera crew. And we're driving this thing along this old railway track bed, and Simon will agree with me that was pretty special to start with, because we brought a train back to a place where trains had once run, so that was quite special in itself. But it was just that beautiful atmosphere of driving along, sort of in the fading light, and then in the dark. We took one of our hedge torches, you can see, and we strapped it to the front of Silver Lady. It didn't do very much, but it looked great. And there's Mark going on, sort of faking train whistles, and we're all sort of singing all different railway tunes we could think of. And it was just the most bizarre, wonderful, magical evening of my entire life. It was bonkers and wonderful and just mad. And I think of the whole 2 weeks, that is probably my favourite moment, just guiding this little train through the twilight, through an actual railway tunnel, with the nicest group of people imaginable. There was not a single person in that little team who I could point and go, yeah, you annoyed me. No, they were all marvellous people. And yeah, it was just that lovely, lovely moment. And of course, there's loads of moments like that across the whole project. I could go on for hours about the exploits Team C got up to. Some stories I feel that certain members of Team C would not want me to share. I'm talking about Dick in particular. Bless him. With his constant falling over. And yeah, there were loads of, funny, magical, bizarre, sometimes infuriating moments. But I think of all of them, that evening spent with the train, just cruising along this beautiful track bed. It barely came off. And just cruising along in the twilight with a group of people who were just having a whale of a time, singing songs. Yeah, I think that was my defining moment of the whole project. Bloody marvellous. And I just wish I had something as funny as your two stories, because those were bloody hilarious. But yeah, that was those were my favourite bits.
Yes. Sorry, Matt. But yeah, I trumped you there with the yes, the production company set up the victory.
Yes.
And then didn't use the footage.
Yes, funny that. Yeah, so we've got conspiracy, mad old Scottish bloke building ramps, and me. Vote for your favourite in the chat room. Personally, if I had to pick a favourite, I think it's yours, Derry. That story is just all sorts of marvellous.
It is quite a fun one. As a friend of mine, certainly about 2 years later, pointed out, I've done a lot of random stuff, which means I have a wide compendium of situational stories where this sort of stuff happens. And he said the sad thing is he's been on enough adventures with me to know that they're both 100% true, and that while I should write them down, half the time I can't write them down because someone else is involved and they'd just probably sue me for it.
Justin votes Derry's story as well, so I think you win, mate.
Yeah. Oh, but BLR was full of them. And the one interesting bit, which was kind of observed as well, is Team B never went to any of the interesting places. We didn't see the other trains that other people are photographed alongside, and we didn't go to the car museum that Team A went to, and we were like, but we still actually had loads of kind of moments. One of the ones which second day we had. Did you ever see what was she called? Queen of the Isles?
No, I know exactly what you mean, but yes, I don't know. I never saw that.
A huge 5-story tall ship comes along the canal, and we were just laying track at the narrowest point. So it was like, as it came past, it took up the entire waterway. And it was so close we could just reach out, and in fact I think Martin did, and just touch it as it went past.
That's Martin all over, isn't it? Wow, look at this beautiful, old, exquisite antique. I'm gonna touch it.
No, it's not an antique ship. This thing is an absolute modern ocean liner.
Yeah.
That was built specifically to go up and down on the Caledonian Canal.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, it's like watching a moving block of flats go past. It was like, how does that fit? What is
Carefully.
That doing here? And anyway, but we were thirsty because it was me, Martin, and I've forgotten his name, one of and a runner there. And as it went past, there was this guy just standing on the back deck, and we didn't have anything, and Martin just shouted, do you have a bottle of water? And this guy just chucked down like 3 bottles of water off the back of the boat. And I was like, cheers! Do you have a beer? I'm not chucking it.
Fair enough. Don't blame him. Oh dear. Darren votes my story. Thank you, Darren. He kind of has to. He's my father. So, but he says it reminds him of James May in Bideford, who, yeah, I think it's. We talked about this, I think, in week 1, didn't we? The comparison.
It's hard to avoid.
Yeah, the comparison is sort of inevitable. Funnily enough, just a sort of side note, production-wise, I did think of sort of various things I could do to spice up this stream, and one of the things I thought of doing was at the beginning of every sort of episode, I would introduce the guests, and then introduce a special celebrity guest who would always have disconnected. And one of the ones I was thinking about doing was along the lines of, and for our celebrity guest this week, I would like to welcome a man who is currently suing Love Productions for copying his idea. It's Mr. James May. Oh no, James May is disconnected. Never mind. Kind of glad I didn't go for it in a way, because that would have felt really forced. So
yeah, but also it's sort of like it's knocking off what they do, the celebrity thing that they do on Grand Tour, though, isn't it? Only less dramatic.
Do you know what? I hadn't thought of that, but it actually is.
it's the exact same thing.
Ironically.
It's like, yes, you're just rolling yourself into the proceedings against Love Productions, aren't you?
Oh God. Yeah. Oh, blimey.
It was pointed out to me by a mountaineer who was like, actually, your little train went bloody far, didn't it? There you go. Okay. But no, he took this. He was kind of like, yeah, your train went bloody far, and I was kind of like, okay, fair enough. And he said, because he went after the Barnstable to Bideford run. He was like, that was boringly flat.
Mm.
He said there was very little, if any, gradient change. He was like, we literally went from just about sea level. Some of the canal sections were at sea level.
Mm.
All the way up to the confirmed top of 2 mountains and back to sea level again. And he's there going, like, I don't, he as he said, he doesn't particularly care about the statistics of, like, scaling and whatever else, because those are all out of whack.
Mm.
He's like, even he can appreciate that's taking a model train halfway around the world and up to space and back.
Pretty much.
And he's like going, it took me 2 days to walk all that. It took you a couple of weeks to get a tiny little toy train to go up. It's like, it wasn't tiny, but yeah, it's the only way I got credit from him. Was sort of like, he was like, yeah, I wouldn't have done it.
Oh God. Yeah. I think it's quite remarkable. I'm looking at my loco now, which I'm just going to stroke affectionately because I love her very much. It just is, and we've said this time and time again, but I'm going to repeat it because Roundhouse deserves all the credit. This is a remarkable piece of engineering. It was built to chuff around your back garden on a looper track, which, and let's face it, most garden railways tend to be quite flat. If you have a gradient, it's pretty sort of a shallow gradient, because, you know, gardens don't tend to vary in height very much. They took one of these that's designed to puff around someone's back garden for 15 minutes at a time and then go back to bed, and we drove it across Scotland. It was never designed to do that, and yet it did it. Yes, it needed taking apart every night and servicing, but that's true of any machine. You know, you need to take them apart and service them after they've done a certain amount of mileage. And indeed, with your garden railway, it is recommended that sort of every year or two, you take them to bits, you strip them down, you clean them all, you do it. The machines that we took to Scotland did exactly that. It's just that their service was happening every night because they were doing the recommended mileage every day.
Yeah.
And when you look at it like that, take into account all of the gradients it had to go up, all of the falling off the track it had to do, all the knocking about it had. There was once, I think, when it had a crew who had only just got it, where they actually ran the boiler dry, which is a big no-no for those of you who don't know about how you work a steam engine. You never let the boiler run dry. Otherwise it goes bang. It went through all that and came out the other side, and it still works. That is just a remarkable thing. And I could gush for hours about how brilliant roundhouse locomotives are. I was going to say, if you're going to start a garden railway and you're building in 32mm gauge, 16mm scale, buy a roundhouse loco. They're expensive, but it will be worth every penny. Trust me.
Yeah, I think I touched on earlier, before we went fully live, the situation with a certain charitable effort to get Silver Lady to the top of Ben Nevis. Now, I was talking with the main organizer, if you like, of that only earlier today. And, unfortunately, it was due to happen a couple of years ago, and it didn't, because poor young Jordan, who, bless him, is the child that we're trying to raise the money for, he was not well. He had an infection, which meant he could not travel up there and be involved. So it was postponed a year. So what happened this year, of course, we're all familiar. We've got this funny virus thing going around. And
you barely hear about it, do you?
It's almost as if we've forgotten about it. No.
It's...
So that's really annoying, because it's cut off the Jordan Reed Trust's charitable, if you like, donation stream to a considerable degree. They can't really go to events and model shows and things like that to fundraise, and they've still got expenses. It's a shame across the board. I mean, the preserved lines having to go dormant just because of this same position. But bless his cotton socks, he had Forces TV and the British Army had a regiment pretty much ready to support and go and really make this something special. And COVID got in the way in a massive way. And he has been, for those of us who think we've had it hard, we've been able to go out for a couple of months in the summer, and try and interact normally. He has pretty much been locked up now for 9 months with young Jordan looking after him. So they are taking so many extreme careful steps to look after him that we can't even touch on it, But if you do have the opportunity, do look up the Jordan Reed Project on Facebook. Do help with the fundraising. Do donate. I hate to say it, because I know we're all in awkward situations as things go, but they do so much. And little Jordan is a fantastic lad when you meet him in person. You just... What
did you say it was? The Jordan Reed Trust?
Jordan Reed Trust, yes.
Okay, I'm going to chuck the link in the chat room for people who want to go and have a look at that. I think you've made such an impassioned speech about that, it would be unfair of me not to. There we are. That's going in the chat room now, if anyone would like to go and have a look at that. Does anyone else have any more questions, by the way? Please do fire at them at us if you do.
The Jordan Reed Trust's primarily trying at the moment, because nobody can go out and do anything, to try and give Jordan other ways to enjoy things. So there was some effort to try and fundraise for a games console for him. I don't know how that's gone. I didn't have much time to talk about that. I was more interested at the time in how fundraising was going and how the projects were delayed, because I knew this was so relevant to our conversation this evening. But it's been a hard year. They did actually receive, for their model railway project, a fantastic donation. They've got a unit, a container unit, basically, the office unit, to build the model railway in.
Oh, that's marvellous.
So they've got that, and they've had some fantastic support in getting it in place. And it's the problem is, of course, that arrived in February. So if we all quickly look back and remember, there was this funny, again, virus thing started being heard about then.
Again,
so,
tiny thing from China, you'd barely have heard anything about it. COVID something.
Certain people might be politically incorrectly referring to it as the China disease or the China virus,
Really terrific people, really great people are saying that.
Yeah, but in all honesty, it has been a very hard year for them. So if you get involved, chat to them. They're a great group of people, and Jordan, as I say, fantastic.
Very impassioned speech there. Pretty marvellous. Yeah, the link to the Jordan Reed Trust's Facebook page has just been dropped into the chat room. If any of you fancy going and have a look at that and chuck in a few quid their way.
Just speaking of stories which I mentioned previous in the series, beginning of this, Alex mentions a guy that was pretending to be part of Biggest Little Railway to sell goods.
Yes, I remember this. Yeah,
that was my adventure. I don't know why he's taking. Well, no, he took about 3 or 4 of my stories. That's rude. But no, that guy. Yes, he was a person I was doing. He was actually trying to sell a heavily battered green silver lady. But fascinatingly, he was trying to sell some wagons as well. And I actually, using my actual credentials as someone from the television show, I actually got I was able to purchase one of his 32mm scale wagons.
Yeah.
Which, really well built, very poorly maintained.
Yeah.
But it's sitting on a set of my track now. During the year, back in Wales, I replaced the shed roof, which meant we took off thousands of Welsh slates. Perfect opportunity to set up all my remaining pieces of the track down the side of the roof and feed the slates off on this 32mm wagon. So remarkably useful stuff, this track.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm gutted I only got about just a length that long. I can't be bothered to take Silver Lady off and show you, but it was. I would definitely wanted to have it because it was a brilliant souvenir of a fantastic couple of weeks of my life. But I wish I bought more of it back because I can think of about half a dozen different things I would have used it for.
Well, I've got a friend who keeps it. Who has, in fact, because I took like 3 or 4 full lengths of it back home with me because I was, of course, travelling by train. Had it strapped onto my back, but he uses it because 3 meters, and he goes, you pinch it open like you did if you, like H said, you put the slots in or whatever. Coincidentally, that's the perfect width for Hornby 00 scale bogies. It just lightly grips them.
Oh,
so you can have a whole concert set up and lightly gripped, so you can move the whole thing in one when you transport them.
Brilliant!
And he uses them as cassettes. And it just lightly grips the sides of it. You don't damage anything, and you can just lift and move the entire collection like that. And I was like, yes, I knew there was a good reason to keep it in full length.
Fantastic. Oh, goodness me. Oh, dear. What is your opinion on Star Trek? Asked someone on Twitch. Haven't really watched much of it, to be honest. I'm more of a Doctor Who man. But...
What a controversial question, and one that Alex will no doubt go on for ages for. Personally, I'm far more Doctor Who. I've watched a bit of it. Trouble with Tribbles I was introduced with. It's fun. It takes different turns to Doctor Who and different writing style, different ideas. Interesting. Go on, Alex.
Okay, right. Star Trek, yes. We're having a bit of fun with Star Trek.
Okay. Should I settle in for a rant, or...?
I think of it. It's one of these strange ones. My father is a huge sci-fi nut, so Doctor Who, the original classic series, I was raised on all the surviving episodes because he had them all on videotape. So although there's been a few added since, we've got them on DVD now, so we watch them too. So I'm very much a classic Doctor Who man. I kind of liked the way they revived Doctor Who and spanned through multiple series of storyline. And then that stopped, and it just sort of started feeling a little bit like, you just want to create an adventure that doesn't make any sense in the grand plot. So I like my Doctor Who, but I'm worried about it at the moment. Star Trek, mysteriously, having gone so wrong with its motion picture world, has sort of gone so right in its streaming and spin-off blocks.
You're talking Star Trek Discovery, aren't you?
In that case, yes.
I've heard mixed things about Discovery.
It definitely goes through different... You look at it and you go, hang on a minute, how does this not work? It doesn't fit in. I've never heard of this ship. Hang on a minute, why isn't it in the Trek anthology somewhere? They've never referred to it. There is no reference to this mysterious spore drive. There's nothing. They do eventually fix that going through the stories, I'm told, and I have watched. But it's just the way it's revived the franchise, because the movies were just going so south so quickly. They were spending millions to give us an epic adventure, which you could do for a few bob in a TV set, really. The streaming services have definitely revived the interest. I don't know what they're going to do with this DS9, which we're told is coming. I've heard things about Lower Decks, not watched it yet, I will admit, but it sounds as though they're really building on it. As for Picard, you're building a whole new weird world there. It's great. We're gonna completely change the politics of Star Trek.
I said he'd have fun.
Very did. I would have fun, and yes, because again, I've seen so much of it and been involved with Trekkie my entire life. I've even seen the Star Trek original animated series years before they finally put it on a streaming service. So, yes, I'm probably one of the most I don't read the books as such, but as far as TV goes and series and movies, I've pretty much seen them all. I know pretty much all of it. So, hurrah!
Fair enough.
So yes, there you go. You've heard the great adventure of Star Trek and opinions. Have we got anything else in the chat?
Justin is asking, what would you think of a Doctor Who spin-off showing the war between the Khalids and the Thals? Big Finish already did it. It's called Davros. Pick it up. It's good.
I admit I haven't seen that. I shall have to look for it.
It's audio series. It's very, very good. It's one of their older ones, but well worth a listen.
The audio series, yes, they are very good, and the continuing adventures of so many Doctors continue, and the fact that the actors continue to voice them quite happily is testament to the Doctor Who community.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, It's the company that has brought Christopher Eccleston back to Doctor Who, something which people said was impossible. So, I don't know.
I don't want to be stuck in this role for more than a few seasons. I will help you revive it, but that's about it. So, here's hoping.
Message from Martin in the chat room. He says, hope it went well. I've been busy with the kids at an elf hunt. Merry Christmas, everyone. F COVID and enjoy whatever you're doing. Don't let it get you down and ruin a special time.
Well, you see, that's Martin for you. You know, classic.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. Yes, Martin. If you are watching along, Merry Christmas, and hope all is well with the family and you're staying safe.
What do you think of Time Lord Victorious? This is really going off at a tangent, this stream, isn't it?
We've gone into your universe.
Yes,
Matt.
you are. I'm dragging you along with me. I like Time Lord Victorious, but the ending as portrayed in the book, which is kind of sold as this big epic conclusion to the whole saga, because it's a sort of multimedia, multi-platform thing. But it says you can dip into any of them and you'll understand what's going on. I don't necessarily think that's true. But I've enjoyed it. I felt like the conclusion to the novel was a bit rushed. and it wasn't like this big epic conclusion like I expected it to be, because there's like no consequences for anything that's happened before. So it was
Tenant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tenant Victorious, yeah.
Yes, that's right, yes.
I thought it was an interesting idea, but in the end, it is. The Doctor is the last of the Time Lords and has won the Time Lord War. Yes, quite correct, he is, and he's... But in the end, it tries to explore something and doesn't ever quite reach the point.
Yeah.
In the end, time resets itself. Well, it reset itself in that instance because he went and bragged in what's-her-name's face that he could change time, and it would change time, and it would all be better. And so...
I mean, the Time Lord Victorious anthology kind of explores what happens between that story and the end of time. It basically takes David Tennant's Doctor off on this wild adventure, and the 8th and 9th Doctors get involved at one point, and it's there's some really well written stuff that's part of it, but I felt it's tying it all up into a conclusion. It just didn't really deliver. There was sort of no lasting consequences for what took place, and I don't want to give away too many spoilers.
But this is one of the other things about Doctor Who that is that Time Lord Victorious, if you're actually going to give it a fully satisfying ending, you long-term affect how the Doctor comes out.
Yeah.
In the end, if you go, yes, he's the last Time Lord, he's basically the master of time, and that what he says goes and he can do whatever he wants, then you actually lose basically all the character development of every single Doctor. Because this is the whole thing that we've had about in the most recent series, Jodie Whittaker introducing that the Doctor is in fact not a Time Lord and has no end of regenerations. Suddenly it's like actually that undermines huge amounts of previous character development and what we know of the Doctor, because it doesn't matter if he dies, because he'll just keep on coming back, and he can remember all the previous stuff, and it's all this, that, the other.
Yeah.
Which, Time Lord Victorious, you kind of go to the other end of that, which is all of his moralising and what core makes the Doctor doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. Which is kind of what this anthology explores, but I think it's an interesting idea, but I just don't think the payoff is worth it necessarily. However, we do get a Paul McGann story, which is basically Die Hard, but with Daleks on a spaceship. Which is just...
Die Hard 16, Daleks on a spaceship. It's coming, you know it.
Oh dear. No, what's the name of that story? Oh gosh. It's Paul McGann's last story in the Time Lord Victorious anthology. Check it out. I forget what it's called. I'll have to look it up. Hang on. I'm going to Google that. Give me a second. I love how we've just gone off on this tangent. Biggest Little Railways in the dust. It's done now. Here we are. Big Finish range. Here we are. Mutually Assured Destruction. It's
It already sounds like a Bruce Willis film.
It does, doesn't it? It's no. The setting for Mutually Assured Destruction is basically the Doctor's on a spaceship full of Daleks. The spaceship is crashing. Everyone's going to die. And it's about how he gets out of that situation. And it is pretty much my favourite Big Finish story at the moment. It's so do check that out. I'd say Time Lord Victorious is worth it for that story alone. But you do have to have sort of seen all the other stuff for it to make any sense. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my opinion on all that. Any other questions in the chat room? What did you have for noms today? Toast? I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, we've really gone off at a tangent now, haven't we? Okay.
Better food than we had in Scotland. There we go. Back on top.
Hey, there we go. Swing it back. There we go. Right. I'd love to hear what you guys watching in the chat room thought about all this. Because we've. It was great for us. So I hope you guys will agree with me. It was great for us to sort of watch the show again. I haven't watched it through properly since it was transmitted in 2018. So it was nice to watch it back again and kind of remember, that happened.
A couple of times.
Yeah.
It's very much that moment of, I have friends. There's a community. I am not alone in a sea adrift.
It's pretty sort of marvellous, isn't it? No matter where we all go from here and what we all end up doing in the future, we're always going to know that there's 50 other people out there somewhere at least. Where
I'm told that we're helping to rebuild Andy Christie's Garden Railway because he's moved. So,
we'll have it done in a week. Job done. There you go. Yeah, it's just nice to know there's 50 or more other people out there somewhere still that are just as mad as you are. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've got a huge collection of the photos that was shared to me because I say I've got them on this computer. It's lovely when you look through some of the behind the scenes weirdness.
Lots and lots of happy memories. But cycling back, it has been really nice to rewatch the show and have the guys on. I've really enjoyed that. I would be really interested in doing more watch-alongs of other railway-related stuff. Now, one thing that does spring to mind, because I know some of the people who've been on it, looking at you, is the Great Model Railway Challenge. I've not watched that all the way through. I've kind of dipped in and out of it.
Oh, how could you?
I know. I feel terrible. It's just been a scheduling thing. I haven't had a chance. Would anyone watching be interested in us doing that at some point? Because I would be well up for that if people are interested.
Yeah, and I'm reasonably confident that between Lawrence and myself, we've got quite a few contacts, certainly into the second series as well.
Yes.
So yes, we definitely could make that happen.
I think that this is probably thinking long term. And sort of going into the future a bit, because I think I've had to work this around when I've had sort of 3 evenings in a row free. So it takes some planning and working
project.
out. Yeah, but if people are up for it, I would be well up for doing that. And also, if you guys have any other railway related stuff you'd like to watch along or anything like that with, then throw them at me and I'll see what I can do. Because I have loved doing this. It's been brilliant. And I know it's a little bit different because this was something I was part of. Great Model Railway Challenge, a bit different as well, because some of the guys who did Biggest Little Railways, I've alluded to there, also did the Great Model Railway Challenge. So there are potentially people there I know who I could drag on to get involved and watch it as well.
Although, just be careful, Matt, because you'll begin with Biggest Little Railway. Then you'll go to GMRC. Then you'll go to Mummy on a Train from Doctor Who, and then you'll just sit in regular Doctor Who and be there going, "Yeah, this is fine."
Yeah, this is my channel now. This is all we do. I can just hear the fans of what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, the throngs of subscribers going, "Are you ever going to make another Dalek video? Didn't this channel used to be about Daleks doing stupid things?"
I'm sorry.
They did that back on the first episode.
You definitely have to be involved with certainly our team's episode of the Great Model Railway Challenge because
it's the one which features the most actual BLR people, because it was
yes.
our team and it was the other team.
Do you know what? I think I watched the first series, and I think yours was the only one I really paid a great deal of attention to.
Two of the three were basically BLR members.
Yeah,
yes.
I knew the people involved.
We didn't know about each other doing it as well. We were sort of. It was the weirdest thing. We turned up and it's like, well, we all know each other, and the production team were going to us. Oh yes. You guys aren't going to go weird like the last lot. And we're like, what do you mean? Because we were the second week of filming. And they said, well, they kept lending each other tools. They're supposed to be competing against each other. Yeah, you've picked the wrong community and hobby.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you guys. Oh dear. But yeah, that's a potential for the future. And yes, because I know I'm going to get asked the question, I'm going to make more Dalek films. Jesus. Oh, blimey.
I have a friend actually who for a short bit, he runs a climbing company, but for a short bit he rented out a lockup in Crewe, and he was literally, there was tape on the floor demarcating whose space it was. And he said his side was full of all climbing gear, the other side was just Daleks in rows, because it's just where they made and store them.
Yeah,
there's just Daleks from the very earliest Doctor Who all the way to the current Dalek Supreme was in there at the front.
Oh, that is
and
marvelous.
He was there just going, no, it's actually really eerie when you're in there.
I find that down here, especially if you turn the main lights off and look at the shadows cast around by my desk lamp and the computer, it is very weird down here in the middle of the night when it's very quiet. And the slightest noise does freak me out.
Well, he said the weirdest bit was that they'd gone and refitted a load of the security cameras with Dalek eyes.
Oh, God.
That lit up with motion detection. And he's there going... He'd be there putting his stuff away, and like the lights would turn off because they're on automatic timer, and suddenly like hundreds of blue lights would just blink on, blue eyes would blink on, and pan across at him as it was the motion detector. And he's there
weird.
Going, "Oh God, that was terrifying." Yeah, apparently they had attempted to previously rent out the one neighbouring, which was the Angels, and he's there going, for some reason, no matter how much they lowered the costs, people never stayed there more than a week.
Yeah, funny
and
that.
You can't wonder why.
Goodness. Oh, dear. I suppose even if you're not into Doctor Who, I think everyone sees a Dalek and knows what a Dalek looks like. And it's such an iconic thing that, you know, people just are enthused by them. But when you see one kind of on your own on a dark night, just the shadow of it, it's just inherently creepy.
I think that's one of the reasons why we wound up with because I have to say that when it came to Great Model Rower Challenge, I sort of became the team captain almost as emergency default. We're in trouble here.
No, you're spoiling
Jenny
it, 'cause
has
he's
sort
gonna
of
do
left,
it
and so we've got this emergency thing. So hopefully we'll do a talk along, and I'll fully go into that. And I'm like, okay, Jenny's already picked Doctor Who. Okay, we've got to do Doctor Who. I'm kind of glad that my dad had all this stuff as a kid, because I could at least watch and understand. Right, we're going to do the Dalek Imperial War, because, you know, there was a Dalek spaceship and the two sides fighting each other, and Davros, it's great, you know, perfect. And it's set in sort of like suburbia and London. We can do that. And I will maintain we were the only team that had 3 tracks running perfectly. They showed a test run where the points had been set wrong and it crashed into something.
Yeah.
Boo. Oh dear. Well, there you go, guys. If you're watching at home, that is a perfect segue into why we should do that. So if anyone has any interest in doing that, please do let me know. And
we'll tell more secrets of the great adventure.
Yes, exciting. Right. We have been doing this for nearly 3 hours. And I suspect people at home are getting bored of it now. So, on that note, I think we should leave that there. Alex, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Derry, it was wonderful to see you again.
Salutations.
And a big thank you once again to Paul, who is, of course, not here anymore because he had to go, for giving up his evening as well to come and watch the final episode with us. Thank you, Paul. And a big thank you also to, who else have we had on? Dick, who was in the first week, Lawrence and Simon from last week. And a big thank you, of course, to all of you at home for tuning in and indulging me in this little wacky idea I came up with very last minute. And I've had a great deal of fun.
All the best ideas happen at the last minute.
Absolutely. There you go. It's been a great deal of fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you've got something out of it as a result. So thank you very much for watching.
And that's it.
That's all I've got to say, really. Da-da! Yeah. More stuff soon. For those of you who follow my alternative channel, Tea Time with Matt, where we do mad comedy things occasionally, and we have all features and music and chat, and it's great fun. The next episode of that will be happening on Boxing Day, so that's in, I think, 1 week's time. Boxing Day, isn't it? But anyway, Boxing Day, there will be a new episode of Tea Time with Matt, and that's over on my other YouTube channel, which is, of course, youtube.com/Tea Time with Matt. So do go and check that out if you have never watched it before. Or if you have watched it before, I hope I will see you there again. But from live from the works and from the Biggest Little Railway watch along, it is time to say goodbye. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!